Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. As you can see in the picture today, let's start the story of where Issei was a Kitsune fox and had the boosted gear. Issei Heidu, a nine-tailed fox yokai born with the boosted gear and an ancient beast sealed within him, arrives in the town of Kwa. But for what reason, and how will he react to the fellow yokai girl? But before we start, please consider subscribe to the channel and give this video a like. Don't forget to check the description for more informations. And by the way, this time we have two stories in one video. The first is, The Nine-Tailed Fox Issei. And the second one is, What if Issei was neglected and married with Gabriel? Now, let's get into the first story. Sacred gears, tools created by the God of the Bible to enact miracles on earth, designed so only humans can be born with them. However, that was before the biblical God died at the end of the great war between the angels, fallen angels, and devils, causing glitches of sorts in the sacred gear system that, while very rare, do happen, and one of these glitches is a boy named Issei Heidu, a nine-tailed fox yokai who was bored with the boosted gear, one of the original 13 Longinus containing the Welsh dragon Ddraig. Currently, Issei was sleeping atop a tree in his fox form until, Issei, wake the fuck up. A voice in Issei's head yelled, scaring him awake and causing him to fall off the tree, plummeting to the ground. I am a Ddraig, would you wake up? Issei groaned as he recovered from the fall. Because you have school and I don't want to hear you whining about not waking you up later. Ddraig replied, annoyed. Well, you're not the who will probably have to deal with that annoying devil princess, Issei complained as his form shifted into a teenage boy with a lean build with orange hair and red eyes. However, his most distinctive feature being the 9 fox tails and fox ears he had. Besides, all I'm doing is luring out that teacher so Mara can take out the shape-shifting bastard. Yeah, well, you still gotta go to school, besides you can use this opportunity to actually get an education, Ddraig told him. Yeah. Alright then. Issei retorted in a sarcastic tone. You don't have to be so sarcastic all the time, Ddraig said, further annoyed. And remember to hide your tails and ears, he reminded him. Oh, right. Thanks, Issei said as he hid his tails and ears. See, where would you be without me helping you? Ddraig said in a cocky voice. Probably dead. Exactly, but that Issei began walking to Kwa Academy while talking to Ddraig. However, sensing halfway through that he was being watched, took a detour, and after sensing that the presence was gone, continued to class. Walking through the school gates, Issei mentioned, reeks of devils here. Be careful, Ddraig replied as Issei continued to class and knocked on the door 5 minutes late. Come in. Issei heard someone call from inside as he opened the door. You must be Issei Heidu, correct? He saw someone he presumed to be the teacher ask him. Yes, teacher, Issei answered. You're 5 minutes late. Sorry, teacher, I got a bit lost. Well, that's okay, just make sure it doesn't happen again. Now introduce yourself to the class, he told him as Issei turned to the class. Hello? It's nice to meet you. I'm Issei Heidu, Issei said in a bored voice while feeling a bit uncomfortable at the stares of lust and hatred he was getting. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Heidu here? And as the teacher said that, about every girl in the class put their hand up, and sighing to himself he pointed to one girl and said, Alright, Caddis, you go. Are you single, and if so, are you looking for a relationship? She asked, leaving Issei a little shocked at how shameless she was. Yes, I am, and no, I am not currently looking for a relationship, Issei answered, much to the dismay of the girls as they lowered their hands. Suddenly a boy from the back of the class yelled, What do you prefer, ass or tits? Meanwhile, a bunch of the girls yelled at him to shut up and to not corrupt the second prince of Kwa. The teacher, after calming down the class, said to the student who asked the question, Mitsuda, that isn't an appropriate question, who in turn muttered to himself about stupid pretty boys as the teacher sighed and turned to Issei. Sorry about that, you can go take a seat at the table in the corner, he said as he pointed to the free table. Thanks, teacher, Issei replied as he went to the table, already dreading the day that's coming. You're being watched, Ddraig spoke to him mentally as he sat down. I know, Issei replied as he looked out the window. Are you gonna do something about it? Ddraig asked. Not yet, Issei said while he answered a question from the teacher. This is going to be annoying. Issei thought as he waited till class ended, then leaving to find a quiet spot for lunch on the roof of the school, the Cult Research Club room. Aikino, do you know anything about that new boy who just enrolled here? A woman with crimson red hair that went to thighs and blue eyes with a voluptuous figure said while looking out a window. The woman known as Aikino with an equally voluptuous figure with long black hair and violet eyes emerged from behind her and replied, "Era, has someone caught your attention, Rias? Indeed, I feel he might have a powerful sacred gear, but I'm unsure," the woman known as Rias said. "Are you going to add our new cute kohai to your peerage?" Aikino asked curiously. "Hopefully, and maybe he'll be powerful enough to get out of this accursed arranged marriage," Rias said as she turned around. "Kaneko, come here," she called out. From another room came out a small petite girl with white hair. "What do you need, Ria-senpai?" she asked. "I need you to follow Issei Heidu and learn as much as you can about him, and to try to befriend him if you can," Rias instructed. "Very well, Ria-senpai," Kaneko said as she left the room looking for Issei. "Good luck, Kaneko, he may be my last chance." School roof. Currently, Issei was eating his lunch on the school roof, discussing his plan to lure out his target. "So have you figured out which teacher our target is?" Ddraig asked Issei. I believe he is the math teacher, which is our last class, so I'll find out for sure then," Issei replied when all of a sudden sensing a presence coming from the stairway that leads to the roof. "A devil," Issei said while Ddraig remained silent as a petite girl with white hair emerged from the stairwell. "Hello? What do you want, devil?" Issei said, catching the girl off guard. "So you know of the supernatural," she said as she moved to sit next to him. "Indeed, and I haven't exactly had good experiences with devils, so tread carefully," Issei said as she sat next to him. "I just wanted to talk," she said quietly as she started eating her lunch. After a few minutes of awkward silence, Issei finally broke as he sighed and asked, "If you're gonna sit here, you can at least tell me your name." "Kaneko," she replied as she looked up from her lunch. "Well, Kaneko, why has your master sent you here?" Issei asked. "She sent me to find out about you," Kaneko replied, deciding not wanting to lie to him and cause further distrust. "Well, Kaneko, you can tell your master I have no interest in joining her peerage." "Why not?" Kaneko asked curiously. "As I said earlier, I've had bad experiences with devils which I don't particularly feel like telling you," Issei said, causing another few minutes of silence. "You're not human, are you?" Kaneko said, deciding to break the silence this time. "Correct, and I can tell you're not a full devil as well," Issei replied. "It's complicated," Kaneko said quietly. "Did your master force you?" Issei asked curiously. "No, Ria-senpai would never do anything like that," she replied quickly. "Interesting. Well, tell your master I have no interest in joining her peerage," Issei said as he got up. "See you later, Kaneko," he said as he left the rooftop as the school bell went. "Someone on your mind?" Ddraig asked in a teasing tone as Issei walked to class. "Shut up, Ddraig, and no, she just feels similar to me, that's all," Issei replied, annoyed. "Let's just focus on our target for now, okay?" Issei said as he entered the class and sat down. End of class. With class finally ending, Issei hopped up from his chair when all of a sudden he heard an ear-piercing screech as he looked up and saw a bunch of girls surrounding a blonde-haired boy who he recognized as the Prince of Kwa and another one of the devils. "I bet you a dragon fruit that he's a knight." "You're on," Ddraig replied as the boy approached Issei. "You must be Issei Heidu, correct?" the boy asked. "I am, and you are?" Issei asked back. "Forgive my manners, I am Kiba Yudo," the boy now known as Kiba replied. "Nice to meet you. Now what do you want?" "I have been requested to bring you to the club room," Kiba said. Sighing to himself, Issei replied, "Very well, let's go, I'm getting uncomfortable with all these stairs we're getting." To which Kiba merely laughed as he led him through the school and out to the old school building. "Guess it's time to meet Gremory," Issei said to Ddraig. "Be careful, partner," Ddraig warned him again. "Don't worry, Ddraig," Issei replied as he entered the old school building and towards a set of doors. "We're here," Kiba said as he knocked on the door. "Come in," a voice on the other side said as Kiba opened the door, revealing an antique-looking room with 2 couches on either side and a desk exactly opposite the door. Sitting at the desk was a girl Issei assumed to be the king, and the women beside her Issei assumed to be her queen. On one of the couches was Kaneko, who was eating candy. Hello Issei, hi to you. I have heard that you already know of the supernatural, so I am Rias Gremory, heir of the Gremory. Beside me is my queen Akino. Kaneko, who you've already met, is my rook, and Kiba is my knight, Rias said proudly. Fuck! Ddraig yelled as Issei responded. Hello, oh Miss Devil Princess, what an absolute pleasure it is to meet you, Issei said in a sarcastic voice. Excuse me? Rias said, visibly angry with how Issei spoke. Look, I don't particularly enjoy being here, so tell me what you want so we can all be on our way, Issei said in a more serious tone. Very well, I want you to join my peerage, Rias said. No, Issei replied bluntly. Why not? Rias asked, quite shocked at how quickly he rejected her offer. First reason being, I'm only going to be here temporary. I'm only here to catch a bounty. And second reason is that I despise you devils, Issei said, again shocking Rias. And I know why you despise devils, Rias asked, determined not to let this opportunity slip. Well, considering it was devils that caused the death of my parents, it makes it very hard to trust yous, Issei stated, leaving the whole room shocked this time. Well, if that's all, I think I'll be on my way. My last class is starting soon, Issei said as he turned and left the room. Well, that was interesting, Akino said after a moment of silence. I can't let him get away, Rias said as she started thinking of ways she can get him into her peerage. Back with Issei. Well, that went well, Issei said to Ddraig while walking to class. It'd have gone worse, but I don't think she's going to give up. She seemed desperate, Ddraig said as Issei entered the class. That may be so, but I don't particularly feel like serving anyone, and a devil no less. Why were you nice to Kaneko then? Ddraig asked. First of all, I wasn't being nice, and second, I could tell she was being honest with me. Unlike that redhead, I could tell she's hiding something, Issei said as he got a good look at his presumed target. Yep, that's definitely our target. He's horrible at hiding his aura, Ddraig mentioned. Exactly, which points to him not being very strong. However, he's a shapeshifter, so we have to be careful, Issei said as he started to think about how he can lure out his target. With his last class ending, Issei walked out the gates with a plan in mind when suddenly, hi Issei, Kaneko, who was waiting outside the gate, said to him as he emerged. Sighing to himself, Issei answered, I know I said see you later earlier, but I didn't literally mean it, to which Kaneko merely stared at him. Thinking to himself for a moment to say, he sighed and said, All right, but you've got to help me with something. To which Kaneko merely answered, Okay. As they began walking, after a while of walking, Kaneko asked, Is it true about what you said about your parents? It is. I'm sorry about that. Don't worry about it, it wasn't your fault, Issei assured her. I just want to say that Rias-senpai isn't like that, Kaneko said. Sighing to himself, Issei asked, Tell me, Kaneko, if a group of devils killed your entire family and nearly you, would you find it hard to trust the mother devils? Not knowing what to say, Kaneko thought for a moment before she said, This isn't my first peerage. My old peerage master was an insane man who experimented on my sister before she killed him and left me. It was Rias-senpai who saved me when I had nowhere to go. Noticing that she was a bit upset, Issei said, I'm sorry about that. It seems we're both tragedies. With a smile as they entered a park. I guess so, Kaneko said as they sat at a bench. What are we doing here anyways? Well, my target should be coming through here soon, so we'll distract him while my partner takes him out, Issei explained. So what should I do? Well, I basically need you to act like some helpless girl, which should get his attention and provide the perfect opportunity for my partner. Wait. It seems like I'm doing most of the work here. That's not true. I'm giving the signal to my partner for him to attack, and it seems our target's here, so good luck, Issei said as Kaneko looked back at him only to see him vanish and the school math teacher walking towards her. Am it Issei? She thought as she hopped up and walked towards him and begun talking to him. With Issei, All right, Merrick, on my signal attack, Issei spoke telepathically as he watched in the tree in his fox form. Roger that, a voice replied telepathically. Don't you think that you've dumped most of the work on Kaneko? Ddraig asked. Maybe, but she's a lot less threatening, and trying to catch a shapeshifter is always annoying. Besides, looks like she got him to follow her," Issei said as he watched Kaneko lead the target deeper into the park. "You're just taking advantage of her," Ddraig mumbled out. "No, I'm not." "Yes, you are. But Lyle apologized later. Besides, looks like he's about to attack, so let's give the signal," Issei said as he connected to Merrick again. "Merrick now," Issei said as a figure fell from the sky and stabbed the target through the neck with a glowing katana. "Well, looks like it's complete," Issei said as he got down from the tree and transformed back into his human form. "That went well," Ddraig said while Issei walked towards them. "Well done, Kaneko, you make a very good decoy," Issei said while clapping. "Issei, who's this?" Kaneko asked. "This here is Merrick, my partner, and the man who saved and raised me," Issei informed her. "Issei, who's this?" the man now known as Merrick asked. "Oh, this is my friend Kaneko." "Well, look at you finally getting friends," Merrick teased. "It's kinda hard to make friends when you hardly stay in one spot for longer than a week," Issei retorted. "Well, lucky you. The Bounty Hunting Guild has instructed us to stay here for a while as they suspect some stuff might be going down soon, so you get to stay with your little girlfriend here," Merrick said, causing both Kaneko and Issei to turn red. "All right," Issei muttered out as Merrick began laughing. "Well, I'll keep you updated on any information," Merrick said as he muttered out a spell and disappeared with the creature. "Well, this has been interesting," Kaneko said after a moment of silence. "Indeed it has." "Want me to walk you home?" Issei offered. "That's sure, but where are you staying?" Kaneko asked. "Mostly in trees," Issei said casually. "But how? Can you keep a secret?" Issei asked, to which Kaneko nodded as Issei released his fox ears and 9 tails. "Why, you're a 9-tailed fox yokai," Kaneko said, amazed. "Yep. The only known 9-tailed fox yokai is the leader of the yokai and her daughter." "How are you here?" "Not sure really. I don't remember much from my childhood before I met Merrick. All I know is that it was in a town near Kyoto," Issei explained as they began walking. "That's horrible," Kaneko said. "Well, it's not all bad. Meeting Merrick has been fun," Issei said, wanting to lift the mood. "I guess so." "Issei, can I show you something?" "Sure," Issei said, after which Kaneko released 2 cat ears and 2 cat's tail. "Well, I guess it's my turn to be surprised," Issei said. "You don't hate it?" Kaneko asked shyly. "Of course, in fact, I think it makes you a little more cute," Issei said while rubbing the back of his head, causing Kaneko to turn red. Thanks," she said as they reached an apartment door. "Well, it looks like we're here now, so see you later," Issei said before he was cut off. "Issei, do you want to stay at my house? I've got a spare room," Kaneko said quietly. "Are you sure? I don't want to intrude on you." "It's no problem at all," she replied quickly. "Well, all right then," Issei said as Kaneko opened the door and they walked in. "Do you want any dinner?" Kaneko asked. "Sure, thanks," Issei said as he went to sit down on the couch and watch some TV. After a few minutes, Kaneko sat down next to Issei with 2 plates, handing one to him as they started eating. "Is it good?" Kaneko asked after a few minutes. "Yeah, it's really good. I haven't had a meal like this in months," Issei answered with food still in his mouth. "Thanks, Issei, but maybe chew your food first before you start talking," she said while giggling. After finishing their food, both Issei and Kaneko started watching TV into the night till eventually falling asleep on the couch together. It was a new morning now, and currently Issei and Kaneko were both asleep on the couch, cuddling each other, with both of them having their ears and tails out, with Issei's tails wrapped around Kaneko as they slept. "Warm?" Kaneko thought as she opened her eyes, only to be met face to face with Issei's and realizing she was being held onto by him. After a few seconds she calmed down and observed his resting face and how peaceful he looked, only for Issei to slowly open his eyes and seeing Kaneko staring at him. "I'm so sorry," Issei yelled as he let her go and jumped back while turning bright red. "It's okay," Kaneko said, now equally as embarrassed as Issei. "I guess we fell asleep on the couch," Issei said as he recovered from the embarrassment and hopped up from the couch. "I guess so," Kaneko replied back while reaching for her phone. "Issei, we've got school soon." Should I'm gonna be here for a while, I don't want to deal with being late again on my second day of school. Let's go, Issei said as he reached for his school bag and exited the apartment with Kaneko grabbing something then following behind. As Issei and Kaneko entered the school gates, they were met with surprise from the students. The male students were staring at Issei with anger and jealousy for walking with the school's unofficial mascot, while the girls were whispering about the two possibly dating, which Issei heard due to his enhanced, causing him to turn a little red, which Kaneko noticed and giggled at. Well, see you later, Kaneko, Issei said as he waved. I say, Kaneko replied as Issei turned to walk to his class. Issei's got a girlfriend, Issei's got a girlfriend, Ddraig repeated in Issei's head in a teasing voice. Shut up, Ddraig, Issei replied. Geez, you kiss your girlfriend with that mouth. Nothing happened, Issei said, annoyed. That may be so, but you two were definitely cuddling. I think I even heard a purr at one point. I mean, come on, she's the cat yokai, not you. Shut up, Issei. If you don't come to terms with this, you will be hearing me singing Surfing Bird every time you try to talk to her, Ddraig said as Issei sat down in his seat. I admit I like her, Issei admitted, embarrassed. Hey, look at that, you actually admitted to something, Ddraig teased as he cut the mental link and left Issei alone. Ddraig, you there? Issei asked, then realizing he cut the link, he thought, damn stupid lizard. As he rested his head on the table. Lunchtime. Finally, it's lunch, Issei thought when he was suddenly approached by Kiba. Hey, Issei. Hey, Kiba, what's up? Issei said, although he already had an idea of what Kiba was going to say. President wants to talk to you, Kiba answered. Damn it, Issei thought as he replied, fine. Let's go. But that Kiba turned and led him through the school. So what's it gonna be about this time? Issei asked. Don't worry, Issei. President just wants to discuss some things with you, Kiba answered as he approached the Occult Research Club room door and knocked. Come in. A voice on the other side said, to which Kiba opened the door, revealing Rias sitting at her desk with Akino beside her and Kaneko on the couch. Hi, Issei, Kaneko said after looking up and seeing Issei. Hey, Kaneko, Issei replied while he was walking into the room. Era seems Kaneko has found herself a cute boy. Mind if I join in? Akino teased, but stopping after seeing Kaneko glaring at her, causing her to giggle. Anyways, I've called you here today to discuss something with you, Rias said, not wanting the situation to escalate. I have no interest in joining your peerage, Issei stated, causing Rias' smile to lessen a little bit. I understand that, which is why I've come with an offer. You're a part of the guild, right? That means you're willing to do a job if it means you get paid right. She's got you there, Ddraig said while laughing. Sighing to himself, Issei answered. Well, you technically are correct. What could you possibly offer me? I am the sister of the Mayo. I can get you anything you want and more, Rias said while pushing out her chest. Am I allowed to think about it? Issei asked. Of course, Rias answered, happy that he is considering her offer. Well, then I'll be off now. I didn't get a chance to eat breakfast, so I'm hungry, Saya, Issei said while exiting the room. I wonder what held him up, Akino said to Kaneko, who turned red. I've gotta go, Kaneko said as she hopped up. Where? Rias questioned. Lunch, she merely replied as she ran out the room. She certainly seems more happy, Rias said after she left. Indeed, it appears Issei has a good effect on her. Akino mentioned school roof. After sitting down, Issei opened his bag to grab out his lunch when he realized something. Fuck, Issei said aloud. You forgot your lunch, didn't you? Yep, nice one, Ddraig said as Kaneko emerged from the stairwell. Looks like your girlfriend's here. Shut up, Ddraig, Issei said as Kaneko sat down next to him. You forgot lunch, didn't you? Kaneko questioned. Yep, guess I'm going hungry today, Issei said. Don't worry, I packed extra on the way out, Kaneko said as she handed him some food. Thanks, Kaneko. No problem, she replied as they began eating their food. After finishing their food, Issei turned to Kaneko and asked, Why exactly does Rias want my help so badly? Looking up from her food, Kaneko replied, I think it's because she wants your help to get out of her arranged marriage. So why exactly didn't she just ask help for that specifically? Right, I guess, Kaneko said as she shrugged. Makes sense, I guess, Issei said as he checked which class he's got next and was surprised to see he had math. Wow, they already replaced a math teacher. That was fast. I told Rias senpai what happened with the math teacher, and she said she'll take care. It's so more likely than not no one will remember the old math teacher. Kaneko informed Issei as the bell went. Well, that's convenient, Issei said as he stood up. See you later, Kaneko. Sigh, Issei. Kaneko said as she began walking to class. What are you going to do about Rias' offer? Ddraig asked while Issei was walking to class. I'm not sure yet, but if she's willing to pay then I'm willing to help, Issei said as he entered the classroom and got a good look at his new teacher. Wow, they really did replace the math teacher, and no one seems to have noticed, Issei remarked while sitting down. Indeed, however, I suspect that this was the work of the other Devil King here, Ddraig said. You mean Sona Citri? I believe her student name here is Sona Torai, and she's also the student council president. Be careful of her, she seems to be more cunning than Gremory. Seems you're right about that, Issei said as class started and the teacher quieted everyone. End of the day. Finally school is over, Issei said exhausted as he got up and started leaving. I have to admit this is unbearable. Math is too much for me even if I'm not the one doing it, Ddraig admitted. See what I mean, and most of this information is never going to help me. Indeed, but as unbearable as this is, it does provide good cover for hunting targets. I guess you're right about that, Issei said as he approached the school gates and saw Kaneko waiting for him. Hey, Issei. Hey, Kaneko, they said to each other as they began walking. Have you considered Rias' offer yet? Kaneko asked curiously. Sort of, but I'm not sure what to do about payment, Issei said when suddenly they turned a corner, and Issei bumped into a nun with her veil falling off, revealing a young girl with blonde hair and green eyes. Ow, she said as she hit the ground. Sorry about that, Issei said as he went to help her up. It's okay, she said while taking Issei's hand and getting up. After taking a moment to adjust herself, she looked at the pair and asked shyly, Can you understand me? Yes, we can, Issei replied back. That's wonderful. You're the first people to understand me since I came here. It must be the work of God, she said as she started praying, giving Kaneko a headache. What's your name? Issei asked after she finished her prayer. Oh, sorry, I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Asia Argento. Nice to meet you. I'm Issei Hayadu. Kaneko Tuja. Kaneko, who had been silent this whole time, said, Tell me, Asia, what are you doing here? Issei asked. I'm looking for the church, however I have been having trouble with directions since I don't know Japanese very well, Asia admitted. Well, if I remember correctly, the only church is the one on the other side of town. No, it's a different one from that. A different one? I think there's an abandoned church, but that's the only other one, Issei told her. That's the one I'm going to. Do you know where it is? Asia asked. Yeah. I should be able to take you there, Issei said as he looked to Kaneko. I don't think I should go there, Kaneko said, to which Issei nodded. Right. Well, I'll see you at home then. All right. Be careful, Issei, Kaneko said as she turned to leave. Don't worry. I'll be fine, Issei called out. All right then, let's go. Are you sure? I don't want to trouble you, Asia asked. Nah, don't worry about it. It's no trouble at all, Issei replied. Thank you then, Asia said as they began walking. After a while of walking and talking, Asia noticed a little boy who was holding his knee, crying as they passed the park, and quickly ran over. Are you okay? She asked as she kneeled in front of him. You know he can't understand you, right? Well, that doesn't mean I can't do anything, Asia said as she held her hands over his bloody knee and 2 rings materialized on her finger. Is that a sacred gear? Issei thought, however, his question was soon answered after a green glow appeared and the boy's knee healed. Thank you, miss, the boy said after hopping up, then running off. He said thank you, miss, Issei informed her, to which she smiled as they began walking again. That's a pretty cool sacred gear you've got, Issei said. Thanks, Asia said with a smile, however Issei could sense she was sad. As they approached the abandoned church, it was now dark, and Issei sensed someone nearby and instinctively stood in front of Asia as a figure with 2 black wings emerged from the sky. "Well, Asia, you've made a friend, how nice." The figure reveled to be a woman with a busted figure with violet eyes and long black hair that reached her hips, said in a sadistic tone. "May I ask who you are?" Issei said casually. "That is none of your concern, human, and you won't live long enough to be worth telling anyways," the woman said as she formed a light spear. "Rainer-sama, no." Asia screamed, however it was delayed as Rainer threw the light spear at Issei. "Come on, you can do better than this," Issei said as to her shock Issei merely slapped the light spear to the side as it dissipated. "Impossible," Rainer said as Asia ran out the front of Issei. "That's enough," Asia yelled. "Fine then, come on Asia, follow me and you won't be in any more trouble," Rainer said as she turned around. "Thank you, Issei, for showing me to the church, however I have to go now," Asia said saddened. "Are you sure?" Issei asked. "Yes." "Well then, if you ever need any help, just give me a call and I'll come." "I'm always willing to help a friend," Issei offered. "We're friends?" Asia asked with tears in her eyes. "Of course we're friends," Issei assured her. "Thank you, Issei," she said as she gave him a hug. "Bye, Issei," she called as she entered the church. As Issei turned to leave, Ddraig asked him, "Are you going to help her?" "Soon, but not yet. I need to figure out what they want with her," Issei said as he walked into the bushes and transformed into his fox form. Paniko's apartment. Paniko was sitting on the couch when suddenly a fox with 9 tails jumped through the apartment window and landed on the floor, surprising her. "Issei, is that you?" "Yeah," Issei replied as his form shifted to that of his human form with his tails and ears out. "How do you do that?" Kaneko asked, curious as to how he transformed into a fox. "It's an ability most yokai possess. I can teach it to you if you'd like," Issei offered. "Alright then," Kaneko said as she hopped up. "Alright, well, first you need to pull in nature energy, and use senjutsu too." Issei stopped when he suddenly felt Kaneko's emotion heighten with her facial expression looking distressed. "Kaneko, what's wrong?" Issei asked, quite concerned. "Senjutsu is what made my sister go crazy and leave me," Kaneko said quietly, and as it suddenly clicked about why she was scared, Issei pulled her in for a hug. "Do not worry, Kaneko, this is why we will train you and make sure it won't happen," Issei assured her. "Are you sure?" Kaneko asked, still worried. Deciding to take a slightly different approach, Issei said, "Kaneko's senjutsu is a part of you just as much as your ears and tails are. I know this may be difficult, but you need to embrace it and stop fearing it." After taking a moment to calm down, Kaneko replied, "Alright then, I trust you," as Issei let her go and stepped back. "You sure?" "I am." "Very well then, start slowly pulling in nature energy, and I'll guide you from there," Issei explained as he watched Kaneko start pulling in nature energy. "Alright, that should be enough," Issei said after a bit. "Now, much like how you hide or release your ears and tails, you need to picture transforming into a cat. However, this time, instead of fueling it with magic, use nature energy instead," Issei explained as he watched her concentrate, and slowly her form shift into that of a white cat with 2 tails instead of 1. "Issei, I did it," Kaneko said as she jumped around and got used to the new body. "Well done, now want to go on a little adventure," Issei said as he shifted into an orange fox with 9 tails. "Let's go," Issei said as he jumped onto the window and leapt onto a building with Kaneko following behind as they started jumping from building to building and eventually reaching the end of the town, leaping to the trees and eventually reaching a cliff that overlooked the town. "A nice view, isn't it?" Issei said while transforming into his humanoid form. Issei. "Yeah, Kaneko. How do you turn back?" she asked as Issei realized he never taught her how to change back to her original form. "I wonder indeed," Issei said in a teasing tone while laughing. "Issei, this isn't funny." "Alright. I'll tell you. It's basically the same way you transformed. You've just got to imagine yourself turning back to normal using nature energy," Issei explained as he watched Kaneko focus for a moment before she too transformed back into her normal human form as she sat down next to him. After a few minutes of silence, and watching the town, Kaneko turned to Issei. "Hey Issei." "Yeah, Kaneko." Issei replied as he turned to look at her. Thank you for all your help, I'm glad I met you, she said, and before Issei could respond she leaned up to him and kissed him on the cheek, leaving Issei shocked as she stuck her tongue out at him and transformed into a cat, then running into the bushes. Oh, Issei got his first kiss, Ddraig said, bringing Issei out of his stupor. Why you? Issei said, still in shock. Actually, it wasn't on the lips, it doesn't count, Ddraig decided. Hey, screw you, at least I'm getting somewhere, Issei said, now annoyed at Ddraig. No, you're not, you're too pussy to actually do anything, Ddraig mocked. Suddenly Issei felt his phone go off and saw that it was a message from Merrick, and already dreading what it could be, he opened the message to see that it was a picture of Kaneko kissing him with the caption, "Make the first move, pussy," causing Ddraig to erupt with laughter. See, even Merrick agrees with me, he said as Issei sighed. I now make the first move next time then, you happy? Issei yelled, annoyed. No, I won't be, Ddraig said as he cut the mental link with Issei, leaving him alone as he sat on the mountain cliff thinking about the night's events. After sitting there for a while, Issei suddenly felt his instinct screaming that something was wrong, and had one person on his mind, Asia. Not taking any chances, Issei jumped up and leaped off the cliff, transforming mid-air into his fox form and landing onto a tree as he started heading toward the abandoned church while using a magic circle to contact Rias. Rias, I need your help. Issei, what's wrong? She questioned. I need you to gather your peerage and meet me at the abandoned church, Issei informed her. Why? Because a friend might be in danger. Very well, I'll meet you there soon, she said as Issei closed the circle and focused on running, eventually reaching the church after a few minutes and transforming back into his humanoid form, then blasting a hole through the front door, revealing multiple exorcists. Well, hello pretty boy, I'm Fried Selzen and I was told to kill you, a man with white hair and red eyes said with a crazed look. However, Issei wasn't wasting any time, only saying, out of my way, as he dashed to attack him and the other priests, slashing at him and sending him flying into the altar. Suddenly Issei heard two blades clashing as he turned around, seeing Kiba blocking a strike meant for him. Issei, go rescue your friend, Kiba said as Akino and Kaneko entered the building with Rias following behind. You better explain this to me after we're finished here, Rias said as she launched the power of destruction towards one of the priests. I will, and thank you, Rias, Issei said gratefully as he broke open a door and went down a staircase. Good luck, Issei, Kaneko yelled out as she released her ears and tails, shocking everyone. Kaneko, you're not afraid? Rias questioned. I was, but Issei has helped me accept it, she replied as she dodged a strike from one of the exorcists and countered him by using her strength as a rook to smash him onto the ground, causing Rias to smile, happy that she was beginning to accept herself. With Issei running down the stairs, Issei sensed around 100 presences in the room, and as he reached the bottom he entered a room full of exorcists and 4 fallen angels who were standing either side of Asia's lifeless body, which was hung up on a cross. Asia? Issei yelled, causing Rainer laugh sadistically. Looks like you're a little late, Issei, Rainer said with an amused grin as she held up her hand and showed him Asia's former sacred gear. No, Issei whispered as he felt rage boil up inside him. Suddenly Issei felt a strange power well up inside of him as all of a sudden his hands and nails grew sharper and more claw-like, while his eyes turned a darker shade of red and the pupils turning into slits and gaining whisker-like marks on his face, while a strange aura surrounded him. Unnerved by the transformation, Rainer ordered the exorcist to attack. However, in a flash Issei mowed down half of the exorcists while using a senjutsu-enhanced fireball to take down the rest. Onaseek, Kalawarner, Millet, attack him, Rainer ordered the other fallen angels, scared by the sudden increase in power. However, one by one Issei took them down, leaving only Rainer left. Those weaklings are useless, Rainer said after releasing her wings and making multiple light spears shooting them at Issei. However, all of them just broke upon contact with the aura surrounding Issei. What are you, a monster? She said as Issei approached her, and not saying a word dashed behind her at speeds she's never seen and ripped out her wings, causing her to scream in pain as she fell to the ground. Spare me, Rainer croaked out while trying to crawl away. Tell me, did you show Asia any mercy? Issei said coldly, filling Rainer with even more fear, but before she could scream more, Issei swiftly slashed her throat with his claw, causing her body to go limp. Looking towards Asia's lifeless body, Issei put his hand on the cross holding her up and crushed it, catching her body and holding it closes and saying, "I've failed again. I'm so sorry, Asia." With Rias, Issei had just left and Rias and her peerage were currently dealing with the rest of the exorcists until only Fried left. "Well, shit, looks like I'm the only left," Fried said as he looked at the bodies of the exorcists. "Give it up, Fried, we've got you 4-1, Rias said as her peerage moved towards him. "Is that so?" Fried said when suddenly everyone felt a chilling aura coming from below. "Well, shit, I don't want to deal that," he said as he threw a grenade at the ground, releasing smoke mixed with holy water. "Damn, he got away," Rias said after the smoke cleared. "Is everyone okay?" "All good here," Kiba said after coughing a bit. "What happened with Issei?" Aquino asked. "I'm not sure, let's go check on him," Rias said, leading the group down the stairwell and turning the corner, seeing Issei covered in a dark red aura that appeared to be growing while holding the body of a lifeless girl. "Oh no, we were too late," Kiba said sadly as Kaneko ran up to Issei. "Issei, are you okay?" Kaneko asked. However, Issei didn't respond, and as she got closer she heard him repeating "I'm sorry" over and over again when suddenly Issei's aura exploded as his sacred gear materialized, sending everyone backwards, and as he stood up he began chanting, "I, who am about to whack," when suddenly a figure dropped through the ceiling and put a tag that said "Seal" on his head, cutting off his chant and knocking Issei unconscious as the boosted gear disappeared. "Am it, Issei? You've made a real mess this time," the figure said as he caught Issei. "Merrick, is that you?" Kaneko asked while walking towards him. "Yep. And I'm trusting Issei here to you. I need to deal with something after Issei pulled this stunt here," Merrick said while handing Issei to Kaneko. "You can have him explain everything to afterwards," he said as he left the church in a rush, leaving Issei with Kaneko. "Where am I?" Issei wondered aloud. Looking around he could see he was surrounded by darkness when he suddenly heard a voice. "Issei, boy Issei, can you hear me?" A voice Issei recognized as Ddraig's called out to him. "Ddraig, is that you?" Issei asked. "Oh, thank God, I finally managed to reach you," Ddraig said as a large red western appeared in front of Issei. "Did you just say thank God? I thought you were the reason he died," Issei said while laughing. "I guess so," Ddraig said as he started to laugh as well. After calming down, Ddraig asked, "Tell me, Issei, what do you remember?" "I remember killing Rainer, but everything after that feels like a blur," Issei informed him. "Correct, you see after that you almost succumbed to the curse of the Juggernaut Drive." "Juggernaut Drive? What's that?" "It's a curse that has plagued every single one of my hosts, which is made up of negative emotions. It essentially is a state that will temporarily remove the seal on my power, allowing the host full access to all of my power at the cost of their sanity, and if in for too long, their life from the sucking of their life force to fuel it." "Wait, if that's the case, how am I okay now?" Issei questioned, confused, as if that was the case that he did use the Juggernaut Drive. Shouldn't he be more insane? "Well, lucky for you, Mara came in and sealed your powers before you completed the chant that activates it, and had any permanent effects." "Thank goodness," Issei said, breathing a sigh of relief, but then remembering something he looked up at Ddraig and asked, "By the way, what was the power I felt before that? It didn't feel like yours." "I am unsure of where that power came from. All I can say for certain is that it felt ancient even by my standards. It seems similar to the Juggernaut Drive, however. Instead of feeding off of magic and your life force, it fed off of nature energy which you were subconsciously pulling in. So theoretically I could stay in that state for as long as I wanted to. While it may be possible, I don't think you should try it yet until we get a further understanding of the power, and where it comes from, and most importantly if there is any danger that comes from it," Ddraig informed Issei as he started thinking of ways he could train it. "Seems reasonable," Issei said while sitting down. "So what now?" "Now you focus on fixing the little mess you created in the real world." And as Ddraig said that, Issei was forced out of his subconscious and awoke in a bed. "I've got a lot of explaining to do," Issei thought, and as he tried to get up he heard a door open as a figure suddenly jumped on him. "Issei, you're awake," Kaneko, who had been looking after Issei, said happily while hugging him. "Hey, Kaneko," Issei replied with a sad smile as he hugged back. After letting go, Issei asked what happened. The which Kaneko replied, "You've been unconscious for the past 4 days. I've been looking after you." "Really? Then I thank you for doing that." "It was no problem." She told him, however, sensing his sadness, continued, "I've got something to show you. Get dressed, and I'll take you there." And Issei, realizing he didn't have any clothes on, only being covered by a blanket, replied, "All right," with a bright red face as Kaneko left the room giggling. After getting dressed and hiding his ears and tails, Issei left the room and saw Kaneko with a magic circle already prepared, and stepping into it they were transported outside the orc. "What are we doing here?" "Just wait a second," Kaneko told him, and as she opened the door, Issei to his shock saw Asia sitting on the couch. "Hey Asia?" Issei asked, grabbing her attention. "Issei, you're okay?" Asia replied, running up and hugging him. "What? How?" Issei asked, amazed as he returned the hug. "Rias senpai reincarnated me as a devil." She informed him, to Issei's shock again as he looked to Rias, who sat there smiling. Letting go of Asia, Issei walked up to Rias and said, "It appears I have misjudged you. Thank you very much, Rias Gremory. It is quite all right, however. I believe we all deserve an explanation. Who exactly are you?" Sighing to himself, Issei took a step back and answered, "Very well, I think that is fair. I am Issei Heidu, and I am a 9-tailed fox yokai and this generation's Red Dragon Emperor." After which he revealed his ears and 9 tails while the boosted gear materialized on his left arm, shocking everyone as well. Him being a 9-tailed fox yokai is rare enough. A non-human being born with a sacred gear, and the boosted gear of all sacred gears, is simply unheard of. "How is that possible?" Rias asked, still amazed. "I'm not so sure on that myself," Issei said, deciding to lie. He knew the true reason was because God died, which meant that the sacred gear system isn't being run properly. However, he kept that to himself. "I am also indebted to you for saving Asia here. So while I can't join your peerage, I will help with whatever you need help with." Smiling at what he said, Rias replied, "Thank you, Issei. I will take you up on your offer. By the way, where is Asia staying?" "She is staying with you and Kaneko," Rias informed him. "Okay then," Issei said as he checked the time. "Oh shit, class starts soon. How do I explain my absence?" "Don't worry about that, my friend Sona dealt with that. She's the other devil king at the school, right?" "Correct, however you don't need to worry about her. She is trustworthy and a close friend of mine." "Well then, if that's all, then I'll be on my way, and again thank you very much, Rias Gremory. Just call me Rias." "Very well then, thank you, Rias," Issei said as he hid his ears and tails, then turned to leave the room with Kaneko following behind. After walking for a bit, Issei turned to Kaneko and asked, "By the way, where will I be sleeping, since I assume Asia will want a room to herself?" "In my room," Kaneko replied, catching Issei off guard. "Like on the floor?" "No, with me," Kaneko said bluntly, catching Issei off guard again. But before he could say anything, she quickly ran off, leaving Issei alone as he went to class. "First moves, Issei, come on," Ddraig said to Issei. "How long are you going to keep doing this?" Issei said while walking into the classroom. "Until you make the first move," Ddraig answered as he cut the mental ink. After sitting down, Issei waited for the teacher to quiet the class, and after quieting down the class said something about a new student as a familiar face entered the classroom. "Hello, I'm Asia Argento and I've transferred here from Italy," Asia told everyone as the class started whispering about the new student. "Does anyone have any questions for Miss Argento here?" the teacher asked. The teacher pointed to a girl who had her hand, who asked, "If you're here from Italy, then where are you staying?" "Oh shit," Issei thought, knowing what she was going to say. "I am living with Issei and Kaneko," Asia replied innocently, much to the shock of everyone in the room, who all looked at Issei, who merely shrugged, not wanting to cause any rumors. "Amu Heidu?" Issei heard multiple boys yell, among other things. "Alright, let's calm down, everyone," the teacher told everyone. "Asia, you can take a seat over there," he said, pointing to a free seat next to a girl with glasses and braided hair, which concerned Issei because of rumors he's heard about her. End of the day. That was exhausting, Issei thought while getting up. Today had been a strange day for Issei, with constant questioning about what Asia said in the morning, and while he was happy Asia was fitting in, Issei wasn't exactly happy with all the stares she had gotten specifically from the perverted duo, and so decided to have a nice conversation with them during lunch, which afterwards caused them to not even look in her general direction. While contemplating all of this, Issei was brought back to reality when Rias spoke to him telepathically. Issei, please come to the club room. Alright, one moment. Issei replied, and hearing the urgency in her voice, he quickly went to the orc room. As Issei approached the door, he heard Rias yell, "For the last time, I will not marry you." And opening the door, he saw Rias with her peerage, a young man looking to be in his 20s with blonde hair and blue eyes, and a young-looking woman with silver hair and silver eyes wearing a maid outfit. The young man, looking at Issei, said in a cocky voice, "Rias dear, who is this creature?" "Boy, watch your tongue, devil, before I cut it out," Issei warned. "How dare you speak to the great riser Phoenix like this? Seems like you need to learn your place," the man now known as Riser said as a fireball appeared in his hand. "Phoenix, you seem more like chicken or maybe a duck," Issei said mockingly, causing a few giggles in the room. "That's it," Riser said, but before he could throw the fireball, a chilling aura filled that room that came from the maid, scaring Riser and everyone else. Issei, however, relatively unaffected, continued to mock him. "Oh, the chicken gets scared from a little cold." Surprised at how unaffected Issei was, the maid spoke. "Rias, who is this?" "This is my friend Issei Heidu, whom I asked to be here," Rias informed her. "Very well, Issei Heidu, I am Griffia Lucifids, the queen of Sursages Lucifer. Now I ask that you please calm down," the women now known as Griffia told him. "Only if chicken should over there apologizes," Issei said, however, after seeing a pleading look from Rias, eventually backed off and sat down on the couch next to Kaneko. "So what's going on here anyways?" "Rias here is engaged to Rix or Phoenix," Griffia informed him. "Oh yeah?" Kaneko did say something about a marriage, Issei thought before he spoke. "Alright. Well, that doesn't explain the little reunion here. Well, Surzex has offered Rias a way to get out of her range by way of raiding game." "Raiding game? It's a competition in which two peerages fight. It can be used to determine status, strength, or settle disputes such as this," Rias informed him. "So that's why she wanted me in her peerage. Anyways, I accept this challenge," Rias said as she stood up. "Please, your Mesalite peerage doesn't stand a chance against Riza's complete peerage." As Riza said that, a large fire appeared from the floor with 15 girls emerging from it, whom Issei assumed to be Riza's peerage. "I'm very threatening," Issei said sarcastically, angering Riser again. "These teams don't seem very fair, so I've got a proposition. Let me participate in the raiding game." "And what will Riser gain from accepting that?" Riser said, annoyed. "Well, if we win, Rias doesn't have to marry you, and if we lose, then not only will you marry Rias, but you can also have my head," Issei explained, much to the shock of everyone in the room. "Issei, wait a minute," Kaneko interjected, but before she could continue, Riser spoke. "Very well, Riser accepts these conditions, and Riser will also give you a week to prepare and say your goodbyes. If both parties agree, then I shall inform Sursages," Grafia said. Rias, not seeing any other options, said, "I agree as well then." "Well then, Issei Hadu, have fun with the time you left," Riser said as he and his peerage disappeared in a mass of flames. "I shall also take my leave and inform Sursages," Grafia said as she also teleported away. After a moment of silence, Rias shouted, "Issei, why would you risk yourself like that?" "Well, why not? Besides, I doubt he would agree if I didn't." "And what happens if we lose? Would you just let him kill you?" "Well, that's what I agreed to. Besides, it's not like we're gonna lose. I leave and train all of you to make sure of that," Issei offered. "Very well then. I'm trusting you on this." "Good. And now that's out of the way, let's head home." "Come on, Kaneko and Asia," Issei said as he hopped up and walked out with Kaneko and Asia following behind. After walking for a bit, Kaneko asked, "Are you sure about this, Issei? About the raiding game?" "Yeah. It should be fine. However, just to be safe and to ease worries, I'll be training you all," Issei reassured. "By the way, is there anywhere I can train you all?" "I think Rias-senpai has a training ground in the mountains, but you'll have to talk to her about it." "In the mountains? Interesting," Issei said with an evil grin as he began to think of torturous training methods. Eventually reaching home, the trio soon had dinner and began watching TV until Issei excused himself to the apartment balcony. Forming a magic circle on the side of his head, Issei spoke. Rias, are you there? Yes, I say, what's wrong? Rias replied. Nothing much, I was just wondering if you found out any information about Asia. I have actually. It's not much, but I learned she was excommunicated from the church. Interesting. Do you know what for? No. I don't. Unfortunately, she hasn't said much about herself. I was actually hoping you would be able to talk to her. Yeah. I was planning to, although she has taken it fairly well considering she is a nun turned devil. Thank you, Issei. No problem. Changing the subject, Issei asked. Now another question. Do you have a training grounds in the mountains? Yes. We do, it owned by the Grimmery family. Did Kaneko tell you? Yes. She did. And also, can you send me the coordinates? Of course, Rias answered. One last thing then. I want everyone to meet me at the bottom of the mountain at 6 a.m. sharp, no later. 6 a.m.? Of course, we're training here, so no breaks. Alright then, good night. Night. Sighing to himself, Issei looked out to the night until he was brought about his stupor by Ddraig. What's wrong? I'm not sure. I've never been in this situation before where I'm interacting with people daily other than Merrick, and I don't know if I'm doing the right thing. Issei answered honestly. Tell me, Issei, are you happy with your life right now? I am. Then you've made the right choice. Remember, you're part dragon because of me, and our kind seeks freedom above all else, so if you're ever not happy, then pursue it. We're selfish creatures, you know, and once we set our minds to something, not even the gods can stop us. Ddraig said proudly, much to the relief of Issei. Thank you, partner, I needed that, Issei said, feeling a lot better about his decisions. You're welcome, partner. By the way, I remember what Merrick would do if I ever slept in for training. Yeah. Well, I was thinking, considering this peerage has probably never trained for anything, what do you think the chances are for them actually waking up in time for training? I think I see where you're going with this, Ddraig said as he began laughing evilly. Indeed. Well, anyways, I'm tired. Good night, partner. Good night, Ddraig replied as Issei turned to walk back inside. Alright, Issei, just remain calm, you got this, you've already done it before, right? Issei said to himself, as he mentally prepared himself sleep with Kaneko. Entering the room, he was greeted with Kaneko's bare chest as she was getting dressed for bed. Shit, I'm so sorry. Issei yelled in embarrassment as he covered his eyes with his hands. Then no, it's my fault, I should have locked the door, Kaneko said, just as embarrassed as she covered herself up. I'll just wait outside, Issei said, but as he turned to leave, he was stopped by Kaneko. It's okay, I don't mind you seeing, Kaneko blurted out to the shock of Issei. Are you sure? Issei asked. Yes. Oh, okay then, Issei mumbled out as he turned around to look at her. Beautiful, Issei said accidentally as he turned red, realizing what he said. Thanks, Kaneko replied as she finished getting ready and hopped into bed. Come on, she called out, and not saying a word to say, hopped into bed with her. After around 15 minutes, Kaneko felt a pair of arms wrap around her, causing her to smile as she soon drifted off into sleep. Alright, Ddraig, it's gone just as I expected. Operation Free Fall as a go. You ready? Sir, yes, sir. Alright, well, step 1, figure out how to get out of bed. Indeed, quite a dilemma you're in. It was currently 5:45 a.m. and Issei was trying to enact his plan. However, there was one thing he didn't account for: the strength of a rook. Seriously, how can she hold on to someone so tightly? Any human would have been crushed at this point. Issei, who was currently trying to figure a way out of Kaneko's grip, said to Ddraig, You could try transform into your fox form. I don't think it'll work, the movement would most likely wake her up. We've got one last choice, Merrick. You know he'll never let you live this down. I know I certainly won't. Thanks, Ddraig. What a great friend you are anyways. This is also important to see how well they react to stressful situations, Issei said as he began to contact Merrick telepathically. Merrick, I need your help. All of a sudden Merrick appeared in the corner of the room as if he'd been there always. What's up, Issei? I need your help. I'm trapped here, Issei said. However, he could see Merrick was trying his hardest not to laugh. What's wrong? Can't escape your girlfriend's hug. Shut up, she's not my girlfriend, and also no, I can't, she's a rock and ridiculously strong and I don't want to wake her. I don't know if you're gonna talk to me like that, I'm not sure if I want to help you. Besides, I'm the one who's been taking care of all the bounties while you play with your new friends. Merrick said, annoyed. Alright, how about this? Help me with this and training this peerage and I'll take the next month of bounties. Alright, deal. Thank you, now help me get out of this. As Issei said this, he heard Merrick mutter something under his breath, and in a flash he appeared next to Merrick. How do you do that? I'll teach you later. Alright then, so what's the plan? Well, remember what you would do if I ever slept in for training. After saying this, Issei saw an amused smirk appear on Merrick's face. However, remembering Asia most likely wouldn't be able to fly, yet he mentioned do it to everyone except Asia. Okay. The which Merrick nodded, and after giving him the coordinates of where they wanted to go, Merrick clicked his fingers as they suddenly transported to the bottom of a track leading up a mountain and about 1,500 meters in the air. 4 bodies suddenly appeared and started falling. They've got about 30 seconds, right? Merrick asked as they started waking up and screaming. Something like that. However, the main point of this is I want to see how they react when thrown into unexpected situations. 20 seconds now and the blonde boy has got his wings out, Merrick said as he observed Kiba floating in the air. Then seconds now and looks like Kaneko has got hers out, and oh shit, the other 2 aren't gonna do it in time. Issei said as he quickly put Asia down, then ran and jumped, catching Rias and Akino before they hit the ground. Dropping the 2 on the ground, there was about a tense silence before Rias yelled, Issei, what the hell is wrong with you? Meanwhile, Akino looked to be both turned on and terrified, making Issei nervous. But you're the one who agreed to training, and this is what will happen if you sleep in. So you teleport us in the middle of the sky with no warning. But it's not like I didn't have reason for it. I wanted to see how you all would react, and I got Issei. Very impressive, Kiba. It only took you 10 seconds before you reacted, and while you Kaneko took a little longer, you still got your wings out in time. Issei said as Kiba and Kaneko landed onto the ground and both their legs gave out as they fell onto the ground. Issei? Why? Kaneko asked between breaths. Sorry, but it's training. Alright, that's enough complaining, it's time to actually start training now. Put on these backpacks. Merrick said. His backpacks appeared next to everyone. You're Merrick, right? Rias asked. Correct, and you're stuck with me for the next week because of his say, so get ready for training hell. Merrick replied with a sinister laugh, sending shivers down everyone's spine. Alright. That's enough messing with them. Although this isn't going to be easy now, see those backpacks? Issei interjected before Merrick could scare them anymore as everyone looked down at the backpacks. They've been filled with weights that should be suited for you now. Everyone put them on. Why? Rias asked curiously. Because we're walking all the way up to the training grounds with these on. Issei explained to the dread of everyone. So that's why you wanted to meet at the bottom? Rias said as she struggled to put the backpack on. Couldn't you have made these a little lighter? Well, that would defeat the purpose of training. Issei replied before something caught him off guard. Wait a minute. How is she still asleep? On the ground, laid Asia, still fast asleep as if nothing happened. No one gets out of training, Merrick said to the horror of Issei, and before he could stop him, Merrick tipped a bottle of water on Asia, scaring her awake. God damn it, Merrick. Issei sighed, accidentally giving everyone a sharp pain in their head except for him and Merrick as he walked over and knelt down. Morning, sleepyhead, Issei said to the still confused Asia. What's happening and why am I covered in water? Asia asked, confused. Well, we're beginning training now and the water is courtesy of Merrick over there, Issei answered as Asia looked over to Merrick, who waved. Anyways, just put this backpack on, it shouldn't be too heavy since you aren't that strong, Issei explained as he quickly used magic to dry Asia off. After putting on her weight bag, Merrick spoke. Alright everyone, let's begin your week of hell. As they set off to the training grounds. Well, isn't this nice? Issei commented as everyone collapsed onto the ground. Yeah. But it looks more like a mansion or a holiday house or something, Merrick said while he observed the area. They're right on that, but at least it's gonna be comfortable, Issei said as he turned to look at everyone. Oh, come on, you can't be that exhausted. Issei, These are ridiculously heavy, Rias said between breaths. And we're not even in proper clothes, we're still in sleeping clothes. Oh, fine. I get it. Stop complaining, Issei replied as he suddenly materialized the boosted gear. Boost. Everyone heard it call out, and as he walked over to them, he placed his hand on Kaniko's shoulder, and this time it called out, transfer. As Kaniko felt a sudden rush of power flow into her. Issei, what did you do? Kaniko asked, now feeling a lot better. It's one of the abilities of the boosted gear. It basically allows me to transfer my power to anything or anyone I want. Now come on everyone, I need to evaluate your strengths. Function normally again to everyone else. Alright, now that's done, everyone get changed into some training clothes and come back out here. That includes you, Issei. Merrick said as he gestured to everyone. There should be something that fits me in there, right? Issei asked Ddraig as he went to the house. Probably, I mean it's pretty big, there's gotta be something. Hopefully. One disappointing look around the house later. Fuck, there's nothing that fits me here. You could wear your school uniform, Ddraig suggested. I'd rather not, besides I would probably destroy it, Issei replied when suddenly Kaniko walked through the door. Issei, what's wrong? You've been wandering around the house this whole time, everyone's waiting for you, Kaniko asked. Well, I've got a bit of a problem, you see. I've got no clothes to change into. Is that so? Kaniko said as she began to laugh. Hey, this isn't funny. I haven't lived in a house since I was a kid, so I never held on to many clothes. As she calmed down, Kaniko spoke. I might have a solution, however, I want one thing first. What is it? An apology. For what? Issei asked, however, both he and Kaniko knew what for as she started at him with a blank face. Fine. I apologize for teleporting you into the air, and to make it up to you, you can ask me anything you want, and I'll do it no matter how humiliating it may be. Deal. Kaniko said as a magic circle appeared on the ground and out came an orange kimono with black robes to wear underneath. Essentially cover photo for story. Where did you get these? Issei asked, surprised. Well, I realized you didn't have any other clothing, so I decided to get some and assumed you would wear something like this since you're from near Kyoto, Kaniko explained. Well, thanks then, no problem, Kaniko said before she was suddenly cut off by a loud familiar voice coming from outside. Issei, hurry up, stop spending time with your girlfriend. Merrick, why? Issei said in embarrassment as both he and Kaniko went red. I'll go wait outside the door, Kaniko said as she exited the room. Quickly getting changed, Issei and Kaniko left the house, still embarrassed as everyone was laughing. Took you long enough, Merrick said. Let's just get started, Issei replied, annoyed. Alright then, well, to get started I want everyone to attack Issei, Merrick said to the confusion of everyone except Issei. Wait, what? Why? Rias asked, confused. Because we need to see where you all are in power. Trust me, I doubt any of you would be able to even touch me, Issei answered, however ticking everyone off at the last remark. Is that a challenge? Rias asked, now annoyed this time. No. But you're welcome to take it as one, Issei replied, further angering Rias. You bet I will. Kiba and Kaniko go into attack while Yukino and I back you up further back, and Asia tend to the wounds of anyone injured, Rias ordered. Yes, Rias, everyone replied in unison as Kaniko released her ears and tails. Well organized, good job, Issei commented as he quickly dodged an attack from Kiba, who materialized a sword. However, sensing an attack from behind, he quickly jumped into the air, just barely missing a boulder thrown at him from Kaneko. Shit, I'm open for attack, aren't I? Issei thought as he heard Rias yell. Akino now? As Akino shot out lightning and Rias shot out the power of destruction, Issei was mid-air and thinking quickly put up a barrier blocking the attacks, and after blocking the attacks, he looked down and saw multiple different types of swords sticking out of the ground, leaving him nowhere to land. However, thinking quickly again, he stuck his hand out as bright blue flames shot out and hid the ground, melting both it and the swords, and as he landed on a bit of unmelted ground, he felt it vibrate as he looked over and saw that Kaneko punched the ground, causing it to shatter, but not wanting to be caught in the sky, again jumped towards a tree and transformed into his fox form and disappeared. Damn it, where'd he go? Rias said in frustration when in a flash Issei appeared back in his humanoid form and went to punch Kiba in the stomach, with the latter barely jumping back but still being hit with airwaves from the force of the punch, as he was forced further back. Looking over to Kaneko, Issei dashed towards her, and as he expected, Kiba attempted to strike from behind while fatigued from the last hit, giving Issei time to turn around and kick him in the chest, this time knocking him out and sending him flying as Asia rushed to go help him. 1 down, 3 to go, Issei said as he casually dodged multiple bolts of lightning coming from the sky. They could be a little more accurate, but I like the effort. Issei mentioned to the annoyance of Aikino, who continued to shoot more bolts of lightning, and looking back to Kaneko was surprised to see her gone, but using Senjutsu to see where she was, easily dodged an attack from behind as he turned to counter her by kicking her legs and knocking her off balance, and following it up with a Senjutsu-infused punch, sending her into a tree next to Kiba in Asia, but still relatively unscathed due to being a rook, picked up the tree and launched it at Issei, who used the same blue fire from before to destroy it, and looking over to Rias and Akino, was again surprised to see a combined attack coming from them, as the power of destruction was shot out by Rias, with it being wrapped in lightning by Akino. Interesting, Issei commented as he redirected his flames towards the combined attack, stopping it, and causing an explosion. Using the explosion to his advantage, Issei dashed into the smoke and used it to sneak up on the pair, as he grabbed the both of them by the neck and threw them towards Kiba and Asia. 1 to go now, Issei said as he looked toward Kaneko. I don't really want to hurt her too much. What do I do, Ddraig? I'm pretty sure you just threw her into a tree, but anyways, why not use my power? Ddraig suggested. Good idea, Issei replied as he walked toward Kaneko, not doing anything. What are you doing? Kaneko asked, confused. This, Issei answered simply as a blood-red aura flooded out of Issei's body, engulfing everyone, and in a draconic voice spoke. Aura of domination. As it forced Kaneko and anyone who was standing to their knees. Kiba, who had just woken up, was knocked unconscious again, and the rest of them were starting to find it difficult to breathe. All right. That's enough, Merrick said as Issei stopped releasing his aura and everyone began breathing normally again. I've got an idea of where you're all at, although Issei, I think you took it a bit far, so you can go help Asia with healing. All right, Issei replied as he walked over to Kaneko and used Senjutsu to heal her, and doing the same with Kiba while Asia healed Rias and Akino. A few minutes later, everyone gathered over to Issei and Merrick as Merrick spoke. Well, first of all, I would like to say well done with all of that. You all have very good teamwork. However, there are some problems I'd like to talk about, so I'll start with Blonde Boy. His name is Kiba. Issei whispered to Merrick. Okay then, well Kiba, first of all I think your defense and sword skills are lacking, because while right now your sword skills won't be much of an issue due to your speed, in the future when fighting harder opponents it will be an issue, and like I said, your defense is severely lacking, so we'll work to improve that. Thank you very much, Kiba said politely. Now Kaneko, I think your main problem is your speed, but other than that you made good use of your environment and everything else, Merrick said, to which Kaneko merely nodded. Now on to Rias and Akino. I think your main problems are that you relied much on magic for your attacks, which leave you open for close-range attacks. However, since we only have a week, I think it'll serve you best to improve your magic reserves, barrier magic, and your attack potency so you can keep enemies at a distance, Merrick said to the duo, who also nodded. Now Asia, since you're not much of an attacker, you should try to increase the range and potency of your sacred gear. Okay then, Asia replied. Now I would like to rotate who trains with who, but since we only have a week we'll do it like this. I'll train with Kiba, Issei trains with Kaneko, Rias and Akino train with each other, and Asia will practice increasing the range and potency of her healing while also healing whoever gets injured, Merrick explained, and after he was done explaining said to Issei telepathically, I've got you a week with your girlfriend, good luck, causing Issei's face to go red. Alright, everyone begin. But Issei and Kaneko, what are we going to do? Kaneko asked Issei as they walked to their training area. Well, I've got a plan. Basically, I'm going to put some really heaving weights on your legs and leave them on while we go through a series of speed exercises, and I'll also help train your senjutsu. Alright then, by the way, what was that blue fire? Oh, that's an ability specific to Fox Yokai called Fox Fire. Issei explained as they reached an area a fair distance away from everyone with a river flowing through. Alright, so first we're going to meditate and pull in nature energy from the surrounding area. Alright, Kaneko replied as they sat down in meditative positions. You know what to do? Yes. Alright, then begin. A few minutes later. Something's wrong, what's happening? Issei said as he looked around. Issei was currently in his subconscious but had no idea how and couldn't get out. Boy, kid. A voice which sounded like it came from everywhere said to Issei. Suddenly multiple large torii gates all blocking off a part of his subconscious appeared. Who are you? Issei asked. However, as he looked behind the torii gates he saw a large creature mostly covered in darkness which looked to have 9 tails. Piss off. The creature said as Issei was forced back into reality. Issei. Issei heard Kaneko's voice call out, and opening his eye, he saw Kaneko shaking him frantically, and seeing that he was awake pulled him into a hug. Issei, you're okay? Kaneko said, relieved. What happened? Issei asked, confused. Just look around. Kaneko told him, and as Issei looked around he saw the entire area around him destroyed with Merrick standing nearby. We need to talk now, Merrick said. What's happening to me? Issei asked, to which Merrick sighed and decided to leave a note with some coordinates and disappearing, but not before saying, you need to figure this one out yourself, I'm afraid. I should see how Issei is doing. Kaneko thought as she hopped up out of bed. It was currently 11:45 p.m., and ever since the incident that happened earlier, Issei had locked himself in a room to think about what happened, and more specifically the location on the note. Opening the door, Kaneko saw that the room was empty, and on the bedside table was the note with the coordinates Merrick left him. Ahmed Issei. With Issei. Issei, are you sure about this? I can't have this unknown power go out of control randomly, and if it's connected to what happened back then I have to know. Issei, who was approaching his abandoned childhood home, told Ddraig. The home, which now looked to be falling apart, was a small traditional Japanese house which was at least a 10-minute walk away from the nearest house. Approaching the house, Issei could sense multiple different barriers that would keep humans, and even some supernatural entities away. Be careful, partner, don't give in to your emotions. Ddraig warned, because while on the outside Issei appeared to be calm and even a bit emotionless, on the inside, he could sense a whirlwind of emotions ranging from sadness to anger to even nostalgia at seeing his old home, though it was quickly repressed. I'll be okay, Ddraig, Issei said as he walked up and slid open the door. Walking in, Issei looked around his former home, which was in a complete mess as he was flooded with memories of his childhood and family. Damn it, what use is it sending me back here? Issei yelled in frustration. To tell you the truth, boy. A voice Issei recognized replied back. What do you mean, Merrick? Issei asked as Merrick appeared from around the corner. The reason why your family was killed. What? I think it's better to show you, Merrick told Issei as he appeared in front of him and grabbed his face. Remember? Was the last thing Issei heard before memories that were long sealed away came rushing back. Issei died, or it's time for dinner. A woman who looked to be in her late 20s with fox ears and tails similar to Issei's called out. Humming, Mom. A boy that looked to be a younger version of Issei with the same ears and tails yelled back as he came running into the kitchen. Just have a seat at the table, okay? Issei replied as he went to go have a seat at the table. When's Dad coming home? Issei asked after sitting down. Soon, Doctor. I've just asked him to grab some things from the store. All right, Issei said as his mother set the table and he began eating. After finishing dinner, Issei heard a knock on the front door. Is that Dad? It must be, dear. I'll go let him in. Before she could finish her sentence, she felt her instincts screaming danger as she ran towards Issei and covered him. Mere moments later, the front door exploded, causing the two to be sent flying to the ground, with Issei still being covered by his mother while debris was sent flying everywhere. Infused and in shock, Issei felt something drip on his face, and after opening his eyes to his horror saw blood coming out of his mother's mouth, and looking down saw black energy dissipating, revealing a gaping hole in her stomach. Mom, Issei yelled in fear as she struggled to stay conscious and barely managing to speak replied. Issei, hide, she said while she tried using senjutsu to heal herself. Oh, there is no point in doing that, we've got you completely surrounded, although you're welcome to try, a voice from behind said as multiple men walked into the room, with the only identifying feature being bat-like wings sprouted from their back, with them varying from 2 to 6 wings, with one who spoke having 8. Having healed enough that she was able to stand, she stood up defensively in front of Issei and asked, "What do you want?" while also trying to contact her husband telepathically. "You know what we want, Ari, now hand over the tailed beast." "What are you talking about?" Issei's mother, now known as Ari, asked while wondering how they possibly knew about that. "There is no point pretending to not know, and you can stop trying to contact your husband," the 8-winged devil said while grinning as one of the men brought in a man with fox ears and a single tail, causing despair to fill Ari recognizing her husband's dead body. "Hey, no," Ari said sadly, but remembering Issei quickly said, "Issei, look away." But it was too late. As Issei stared at his father's lifeless body with tears filling his eyes, he felt something awaken deep inside of him. "You bastard!" Ari screamed in rage, and using what strength she had left, shot fox fire out of her arm, incinerating the low to mid-class devils, while the rest put up barriers, only receiving minor burns. As she stopped releasing fire, she went to strike the 8-winged devil, but was intercepted by 2 other devils, both wielding swords, with one of them stabbing her in the leg and the other slicing off part of some of her tails, causing her to scream in pain as she fell on the ground. "Mom!" Issei screamed as he ran over to her. "I'm sorry, Issei, it seems I've failed you. I need you to take this and run far away," she said as she put her hand on Issei's chest, causing a light to appear on his chest, with it disappearing as soon as it appeared. "I love you. Sorry, kid, it's nothing personal, but you gotta die," he said while forming a black spear of demonic energy and stabbing Issei through the heart. "No, Mom, Dad. I don't want this," Issei said as he slipped into unconsciousness. "What's happening? Where am I?" Issei wondered as he looked around, only seeing darkness. "Am I dead?" "Not yet, boy," a voice boomed from all around, scaring Issei. "Who are you?" Issei asked, scared as he looked around. "That doesn't matter right now. All I need to know is, do you want power? The power to destroy all who oppose you?" the voice asked. "I do. Even if it costs you your heart?" "Yes. Are you sure?" "I am. I want to destroy them all," Issei said as he felt rage beginning to boil up inside of him. "Very well then, we shall show the world the true power of the Red Dragon Emperor." Back in the real world, crimson-red aura began to surround Issei's body as he awoke, and to the shock of the devils present, the boosted gear appeared on his arm. "I'll kill you!" Issei screamed with tears still in his eyes as the boosted gear shouted, "Balance breaker." The devils watched on in horror as crimson-red armor covered his body. However, due to him being a fox yokai unlike previous hosts, all of which were humans this time, it changed, adapting to his tails by covering them in small crimson scales that allowed them to move freely while protected. "Oh. How's this possible?" one of the devils asked, but in a flash, Issei appeared in front of him and pierced his chest with his hand, causing him to drop dead. "You've only got 10 seconds, so make it quick because we won't be able to do this again," Issei heard the voice say. "Got it," Issei replied as he jumped back, dodging a sword from one of the devils attempting to slash him. "Kill him now," the 8-winged devil ordered, to which 3 of the devils charged Issei. However, thinking quickly, Issei ran towards them, catching them off guard as he jumped into the air, landing behind him, and used his armored tails to stab all 3 of them, killing them instantly. "Well, look who's gotten strong," the 8-winged devil said before he was cut off by Issei shooting fox fire out of his armored hand, to which he and the other devils put up barrier blocking the flames. "Please, not even your mother's flames could kill us," the devil said mockingly. "Issei now?" the boy said as the boosted gear called out Boost X for suddenly increasing the power of the flames, overwhelming the devils, and leaving only the 8-winged devil left, however badly burnt. Approaching last devil, Issei asked, "Why did you do this?" Terrified by the small boy's power, he replied, "We were sent by Rizavum Lucifer to collect the tailed beast that's sealed inside of you." "Okay, now die," Issei said with no emotion in his voice, but before he could finish him off, his armor suddenly dissipated as he collapsed to the ground due to exhaustion, causing the devil to smirk. "Well, would you look at that, seems like your little body can't handle all that power." the devil said as he approached to say. Issei-ran? The voice screamed. I can't, it seems this is the end for me. Can I know your name at the very least? Ddraig Gotch. Thank you, Ddraig. You're welcome, partner, I've enjoyed our short time together. Ddraig replied as the devil stood over Issei preparing to kill him with his demonic energy spear. I brat. Issei heard him say as he closed his eyes waiting for the inevitable pain, but it never came. Opening his eyes he saw blood dripping onto the ground and looking up, he saw the devil with a look of shock on his face with a glowing sword having pierced his stomach. As the devil collapsed dead on the ground, Issei saw who was holding the sword, a man dressed in all black with a cloak covering it, who looked to be in his late 30s or early 40s with a scruffy beard. Who are you? Issei asked cautiously as the man put his sword into its sheath. I was a friend of your parents. My name is Merrick. Oh, I'm Issei. I know. I'm sorry about your parents. Merrick said sympathetically as he knelt down to help Issei stand. It's okay, Issei replied sadly. Can you help me bury them? Sure, mate. Just pick out a spot and I'll take them there. Thank you, Issei said as he thought for a moment. There was a spot on top of a mountain that you could see Kyoto from that we always went to. I think I know where you're talking about. Merrick said, after which he whispered something Issei couldn't hear as they were teleported to the location he spoke of. This is it, Issei explained while looking around. You ready? I am. Due to how exhausted Issei was, Merrick handled the holes while he prepared both their bodies as best he could. After placing the bodies in there, Merrick filled the graves while Issei stood there in silence. Issei, it's okay to cry, Merrick said, sensing Issei's pent-up emotions. Not saying anything, Issei stood there still not crying and thinking for a moment. Merrick knelt down and brought Issei into a hug. It's okay, Issei, don't worry, I won't go anywhere. And seeming to get through to him, Issei began crying a little as he held on to Merrick and after a while was outright bawling his eyes out all the while Merrick was comforting him. After Issei was finished crying, Issei looked at his parents' grave, which had a tombstone saying, Here lies the grave of hate and Ari Haidu. Loving husband and wife and loving parents. Rest in peace. After a few minutes of silence, Merrick asked, What do you want to do now? Wiping his leftover tears, Issei replied, I want to kill the person who caused this, surprising Merrick with what he said. And do you know who that is? Rizavum Lucifer? Issei said, surprising Merrick even more. Issei, you know who that is, right? He's one of the most powerful devils alive. I don't care, I won't rest until I have his beating heart in my hand. Sighing to himself, Merrick spoke. I didn't want to do this, but I don't want you to kill yourself attempting to find him. Putting his hand on his head, Merrick muttered, Forget. Knocking Issei unconscious and sealing away his memory of who caused this flashback end. Having his memories restored fully, Issei looked towards Merrick in anger and asked, Damn it, Merrick, why? Because you would have been killed if you tried to go after him. What did you expect me to do? Fuck. Issei yelled in anger, not knowing what to say as he stormed out of the house and transformed into his fox form. After running for a while, Ddraig spoke. Issei. Not now, Ddraig, please. Very well, partner. But as soon as you're ready, I need to talk to you about the creature that was sealed into you. Ddraig said, cutting the mental link. Running a bit more, Issei eventually reached his parents' grave as he transformed back into his humanoid form. Falling his knees, Issei asked with tears beginning to come out of his eyes. Mom, Dad, what do I do? I feel lost. I need your help. After a moment of silence, Issei felt a pair of arms wrap around him and turning around saw Kaneko, who in turn pulled Issei into her chest, hugging him tightly while whispering. It's okay, Issei, I'm here for you. Oniko, what do I do? Issei asked with tears streaming down his face. I don't know, Issei, but what I do know is that I'll support whatever choice you make, Kaneko replied, after which they stayed like that for a while until eventually letting go of each other. Looking at the graves, Kaneko asked, Are these your parents' graves? Yeah. It's a beautiful spot, thanks, Issei replied. A moment later, to his surprise, Issei watched Kaneko as she used senjutsu to grow flowers around the graves, and looking at her surprise, she merely smiled as she spoke. Let's head back now. All right, Issei replied as Kaneko created a magic circle and teleported the two of them back to the training house. Do you want to sleep in my room tonight? Issei asked nervously as they approached their bedrooms. All right. Kaneko answered, and deciding to tease Issei a bit continued, You're not going to do anything naughty, are you? Causing Issei to blush. Then no, of course not. Issei stuttered out, causing Kaneko to giggle. After getting into bed, Issei turned to Kaneko and spoke. Thank you for all you've done. It's been no problem, is? Kaneko replied, but was cut off by Issei leaning in and kissing her. After a moment of surprise, Kaneko melted into it as she kissed him back deeper, catching Issei off guard, although he didn't mind, as he did the same, with the two fighting for control for a few minutes until eventually pulling away from each other for a much-needed breath. Issei, an echo said between breaths before they both leaned in and starting kissing again, this time for even longer, continuing until they both fell asleep. Issei's subconscious. Awakening in his subconscious, Issei called out, Yo Ddraig, you there? I am here, but first of all, how are you feeling? Ddraig replied back, appearing in front of Issei, towering over him in his dragon form. I'm feeling pretty good, actually. Issei replied back. I bet you are, and well done on making first moves for once. Ddraig said while smirking, embarrassing Issei. Anyways, I wanted to talk to you about the other creature sealed within you. All right. Issei said as he sat down. He said it was a tailed beast, right? Do you know what they are? Not much, unfortunately. Most of them were wiped out by my time. However, there is one thing I can say for certain. They have the power to rival even the strongest dragons. I also learned from one of my previous hosts who studied them that they are similar to dragons, and that they are beings made up of power. However, unlike dragons, which are made up of raw primal power, it's more natural, kindle like nature energy. Interesting. What should we do? I recommend talking with whoever it is and figuring out who they are and what they want before you do anything else, because unlike me, instead of being sealed inside a sacred ear, they seem to be sealed using some sort of technique. Alright then, well, I'll try talking to him soon and maybe learn his name. For now, I need rest. Indeed you do. Good night, partner. Good night. Next morning, waking up, Issei found himself still holding on to Kaneko as she slowly woke up as well. Good morning, Kaneko. Then morning, Issei. Kaneko replied, remembering what happened last night, causing her to blush a little. It's a bit early, wanna get breakfast before everyone else. Okay, Kaneko replied as the two got dressed, however, in separate rooms. Now dressed for the day, they met up and walked into the kitchen and were surprised to see Kiba already awake and making breakfast. Kiba, you're up early, Issei said as Kiba turned around. Well, can't say I want to sleep in again, Kiba chuckled. Fair point. Why don't you and Kaneko sit down? I'm already cooking, so it'll be easier. I'll take you up on that, thanks, Issei said as he and Kaneko went to sit down on the couch, but not before Kiba noticed that there was something different, causing him to smile. Soon, one by one, everyone emerged from their rooms and eventually they all sat down for breakfast at a table. Midway through eating breakfast, Kiba spoke up. Issei and Kaneko seemed to be a bit closer than usual, causing the pair to blush as everyone looked at them. It seems you're correct, Rias agreed. Did something happen last night? Akino added, all the while Asia remained completely oblivious. I've all of a sudden got the urge to start training, don't you, Kaneko? Issei said, trying to find a way out of the situation. Now that you mention it, I think I do. Oh no, you're not getting away, Rias yelled. Should Kaneko run? Issei yelled, prompting the two of them to jump back from the table and bolt, but not without being chased by everyone else. Seeing an opportunity to escape, Issei looked towards Kaneko, who seemed to understand, and as they approached an open window, the two transformed, which caught everyone by surprise as they quickly leapt through, leaving everyone else behind. When did Kaneko learn to do that? Rias asked in confusion. Issei taught her, a voice from behind said. Merrick, since when were you here? Rias questioned, surprised as she hadn't sensed him before he spoke. I've gotta sleep somewhere too, you know. Anyways, it seems you're all ready for training, so Kiba, come with me. Rias and Akino go train each over and try to increase your reserves in Asia. You heal anyone who gets hurt. Right, everyone said in unison as they all left to begin training. With Merrick and Kiba. As Kiba and Merrick were walking to the training area, Kiba turned to Merrick and asked, What's wrong with Issei? So you can tell I'm impressed. He seems different from before, like he's angry. It's not obvious from his body movement, but his eyes seem different. He wants revenge. Revenge? Against who? Those who took everything from him. You want revenge for something as well, don't you? You act happy, but your eyes betray you as well, so what's caused your anger? Merrick asked, shocking Kiba, who had never expected someone to figure it out just from looking at him. Have you heard of the Holy Sword Project? Yeah, I've heard it. It was a secret project conducted by the church to create artificial Holy Swords users, although I heard all the kids died when it was shut down. I'm surprised you know so much about it. I was sent by a client a while back to gather information. Making Kiba's interesting, he asked. Do you know where Valpar Galilei is? The man who ran it. No, he went completely off the grid, although last I heard he was collecting Excalibur pieces. Merrick explained. However, he saw Kiba getting visibly angry. Why do you want to know this anyways? Because I am a survivor of the Holy Sword Project. Wait, what, how? Merrick asked, surprised, because all the research he had gathered pointed to everyone dying, and the idea that a young boy would be able to survive was laughable. My comrades, my friends gave their lives so that I may have a chance to survive, and I will not stop until I avenge them and kill Valpar. Well, seems like both you and Issei have your work cut out for you. Anyways, draw your sword, we shall begin training. With Issei and Kaneko. Alright, looks like we're far enough away, Issei said as he and Kaneko transformed back into their humanoid forms. What are we doing for training? We're going to pick off where we did yesterday. Are you sure everything will go okay? Kaneko asked, concerned, while the two walked towards the river a little further up from the accident that occurred yesterday. It should be. I believe I've got everything under control now, Issei replied as the two sat down in meditative positions. Alright. Feel the flow of life and everything surrounding you, in the plants, in the water, the animals around us, and your own life force. Issei instructed, and listening to what he said, Kaneko began to feel the life force of everything around her until she felt Issei scaring her out of it. Kaneko, what's wrong? Issei asked, concerned. There is something wrong with your life force. What? I felt your life force, and there was something wrong with it. It was like it was being melded with some other being. Hearing this, Issei asked Ddraig, is this true? It is. I didn't notice it before since it's only small, but indeed it appears the tailed beast's life force is melding with yours. Is it any cause for concern? Not right now, but I recommend speaking with it to try and resolve this. Alright, Issei replied as he focused back to Kaneko. I've spoken to Ddraig and don't worry about it. Are you sure? I am. Do you at least know what it is then? Kaneko asked, now annoyed at Issei seemingly not worrying much about it. It's because Ddraig isn't the only one sealed within me, Issei answered, shocking Kaneko. What, how? I've only just relearned this, but on the night of my family's murder there was a reason for it. It was to obtain the tailed beast that's now sealed within me, Issei told Kaneko, who was now confused. She was fairly knowledgeable on the supernatural world, and never has she heard of a tailed beast. What's a tailed beast? I'm not too sure really, not even Ddraig knows too much about them. What we're sure of, however, is that they have the power to rival dragons. And one of them is sealed inside of you, Kaneko said, concerned. How are you just learning of this? My memories of what happened specifically on the night of my parents' murder were sealed until last night, Issei said calmly. However, Kaneko could sense he was angry. However, deciding not to pry into it, she didn't say anything about it. Will you be okay? Don't worry about it. Anyways, let's start training. We're getting sidetracked, Issei replied, wanting to change the topic. Alright then, Kaneko answered, but sensing Issei's emotions, made a promise to herself to talk to him about it after saving Rias from Riser. And so begins Kaneko Week of Hell. It's been 6 days since the start of training, and so far everyone had progressed quite a bit despite the short time they had. Kaneko's speed had increased, and she became even more proficient in senjutsu under Issei's guidance. Kiba had picked up some new techniques and strategies from his training with Merrick. Asia had increased her range using Twilight Healing to about 3 meters, and lastly both Akino and Rias had managed to increase their magic reserves. However, there were still 2 days left of training, and Issei was yet to talk with the tailed beast despite Ddraig's insistence. However, before that, Issei decided he needed to talk with a certain someone about something. Yo, Issei, you're training with me today, Issei announced as he walked into the kitchen with everyone eating breakfast. Wait, what? Why? Akino asked, just as confused as everyone else. I'll explain later. Era, do you want to get a one-on-one session with me? Akino said in a teasing tone, although she could feel the death stare coming from Kaneko. No. It's something more serious than that, so when you're done, meet me outside, Issei stated as he turned to leave, and quickly putting away her dishes, Kaneko ran after him. Catching up to Issei outside, Kaneko asked, Issei, why are you training her? Because I believe she's holding back her true power. She's not a full devil, is she? Issei asked. You're right, she's part fallen angel, Kaneko answered, surprised Issei managed to figure it out. Thought so? How did you figure it out? Kaneko asked curiously. Through senjutsu? Issei explained. It's how I figured out you weren't a full devil either, although I couldn't figure it out what exactly you were without using more senjutsu, which may have given me away. That makes sense. So what are you going to do? Same thing I did with you. I'm gonna try find the reason why and solve it. Is that all you're doing? Kaneko quietly asked as she looked away slightly. What do you mean? Issei asked as dense as ever, however she didn't respond. She's worried you might try something with Akino, you dense fuck, Ddraig chipped in. Wait, really? Yes, I can't believe I have to explain this to you now. Do something from her perspective, you're just staring at her. Should write thanks, love dragon. Hey, what was the Ddraig yelled but was cut off with Issei cutting the mental link. Kaneko? Issei said, grabbing her attention. There's nothing you need to worry about, he continued before he leaned in and kissed her. Surprised, Kaneko quickly melted into it as the two continued making out for a few minutes until, it seems I'm interrupting something here, the two of them heard a voice say, scaring both of them, and as they quickly pulled away from each other they saw Akino standing there with a sadistic smile. Kino? Issei said, embarrassed. Yes, Issei, Okino replied, still smiling. What are you doing here? You asked me to meet you outside for training, remember? Oh, I did, didn't I? Well then, let's start training, Issei said, trying to get control of the situation, all the while Kaneko stood next to him awkwardly. Are you sure? It looked like you two were having a bit of a moment there? But Kino continued, wanting to embarrass the pair even more. Shut up now, come on, let's go. See you later, Kaneko, Issei said, turning his attention to Kaneko. I'm sure you will see her later, Akino teased. Kaneko glared at Akino for a second before replying by Issei. After which the trio went their separate ways, with Kaneko going to train with Kiba for the day while Leisha healed them, and Issei went with Akino to where he and Kaneko were training the past few days. With Rias. Wait, who am I training with today? Rias said as she realized everyone but her had something to do. I'm going to help you with leading a team, Rias heard a voice say, and turning around she saw Merrick standing in the doorway. What do you mean? Exactly what I said, I'm going to help you lead your peerage as their king, Merrick said as he sat down at the table opposite her. Get ready, we're going over a lot of different strategies and battles today. With Issei and Akino. So why exactly did you want to train me? Akino asked curiously. Look, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I know you aren't a full devil, and I know that you aren't using your full power. As he said this, Issei watched Akino's cheery expression drop. I guess it's understandable someone like you would figure it out, Akino said sadly. I am the daughter of fallen angel, Borakiel. Akino continued as she released her one devil and one fallen angel wings. Borakiel, he's a pretty high-ranked fallen angel if I remember correctly. Issei wondered all the while Akino stood there shocked. She expected Issei to insult her, even attack her, or at the very least give her a look of disgust, but no, here he was brushing it off as if it were nothing. Why? Akino asked quietly. What do you mean? Issei asked back, confused. Why don't you hate me? Fallen angels were the ones that killed Asia. I'm part of the same race that killed her, Akino said angrily, almost yelling at the end. I don't know, to be honest. I guess being around the one race I've hated for most of my life has taught me something. Issei wondered as he began reflecting on the events that have happened so far. Anyways, never mind that. It seems like you almost want me to hate you, so tell me, why do you hide this part of you? Issei asked, causing Akino to think to herself for a second before replying. Because I hate my fallen angel heritage, Akino said angrily. Why's that? Issei questioned. Because it's the reason my mother died and I was left abandoned and alone, and why I will forever hate my father. Akino explained, to which Issei stayed quiet, trying to think of something to say, however didn't get a chance as Akino asked again. So tell me, why don't you hate me? You hated devils for what they did to your family. Staying quiet for a second, Issei then responded. Because I know that's not all who you are. Yes, I hated devils for what they did to my family, and I know part of me still does, but that doesn't mean I project that onto people who I know and trust. We aren't defined by our heritage, we're defined by our actions, and you people have done nothing but be kind and helpful. Shocked would be an understatement to what Akino felt but even so she couldn't help but smile. You really are one of a kind, Issei. I'm starting to feel a bit jealous of Kaneko now, Akino said happily. Thanks, I guess. Issei replied, not knowing how else to answer that. Anyways, I'm not asking you to forgive your father, that's not my call to make. Instead, I'm asking you to think about your friend. What if I wasn't here and you fought against Riser and lost? How would you feel knowing that you could have prevented that if you just hadn't held back your power? Issei continued, causing Akino to think to herself. I'd never forgive myself. I know, however, this is why I'm here, so let me help you, Issei offered as he awaited a response. Alright then, I trust you, Akino answered, surprising Issei at how quick it was. Are you sure? I am, Akino assured. Alright then, well, let's begin training, Issei said while he got into a battle stance. Wait, what do I do? Akino asked, slightly confused. I'm going to guide you through a technique, and if you do it correctly you'll be significantly stronger than before. Are you ready? Issei asked. I am, Akino answered. Alright then, I want you to start by summoning as much of your power as possible, and when you feel you've reached your limit, instead of channeling it outward, I want you to condense it and to allow it to flow through you, Issei explained, and listening to his instructions, Akino closed her eyes, and after about 30 seconds, large bolts of lightning which was clouded in a holy aura came thundering down, hitting Akino. After the bolts of lightning disappeared, all that remained was an aura of light that surrounded Akino, and small bolts of lightning that shot off around her. There you go, Issei commented as he observed the new form. What is this? Akino asked, amazed, feeling the power surge through her. Their potential, now come attack me, Issei instructed. However, right as Akino was about to attack, the form dissipated, and she fell to the ground. How well, that was disappointing, Issei said as he walked over to her. What happened? Akino asked, now feeling exhausted as Issei helped her up. You lack training, that's what. Your refusal to use your true power has made it almost foreign at this point, so you can't control it properly. That, and also what you did, was a very high-level technique, Issei explained. However, something caught Akino's attention. Wait a minute. How did you even know what this is then, and how did you know how to teach it? Akino questioned, now suspicious of him. I've seen it before, or more specifically, I've had it used on me. How's that possible? Akino asked, now even more suspicious. Well, you see, me and Merrick once raided the Grigori. Hearing this, Akino's eyes widened as she stared at Issei in disbelief. You did what? Akino shouted, horrified. We were hired by someone to steal some stuff from them, Issei explained. What did you even take? Azazel's porn collection, Issei said with a sly smile, although Akino didn't share the same response since she knew how much of a pervert Azazel was, and to steal his porn was pretty much a death sentence. How did you possibly survive that? Akino asked, genuinely amazed. Barely, that's how. The seals he had protecting his stash were much more powerful than we had expected, and just before we finished getting through them, we accidentally set off an alarm, so Merrick had to protect me while I finished through the last of the seals. What happened after that? Well, Azazel and a few other high-ranking angels showed up and surrounded us, and used a barrier to prevent us from teleporting, so we had to run like there was no tomorrow. And just as we were about to escape, your father showed up using a more powerful version of the technique he used earlier, so we quickly devised a plan where Merrick will distract him and I'll slip through in my fox form. How did it go? Akino asked curiously. Horrible, I was struck by an absurd amount of lightning. Issei explained, to which Akino started laughing. That's hilarious, Akino said between tears. Maybe from your perspective, maybe, but not from mine. I was practically toasted. Anyways, we're getting sidetracked. We're supposed to be training. Issei explained as he waited for Akino to calm down. Alright, I'm ready, Akino said after she finished laughing. Alright then, let's begin. End of the day. Issei, I'm sore. Akino complained while they walked back. That means your training paid off, so no complaining. Issei retorted, however he stopped walking when he heard a thump. What are you doing? Issei questioned as he looked at Akino, who was lying on the ground. I can't walk any further, I need you to carrying me, Akino said with a smirk. Is that so? Yep. Akino answered, however her smirk quickly disappeared when she saw the smile he had on his face. Wait, I think I can walk now, Akino said in fear, however it was too late when in a flash Issei grabbed her leg. Training house. Everyone had returned from training and were currently sitting around the living room when suddenly everyone heard a terrified scream in the distance. What's that? Rias asked, slightly unnerved by it. Not sure, but it sounds like it's getting closer. Kiba mentioned. Quick, everyone outside. Rias ordered, and as everyone got outside they all looked up to see two figures flying towards them, and using senjutsu to enhance her senses she sensed a familiar aura. It's Issei, Kaneko pointed out, and as the two came closer they quickly found the source of the screaming. Hurling through the air was Akino, who was terrified for her life. Biba, can you catch her? Rias asked, to which the knight nodded, and as Issei landed fine, not even leaving a small crater despite the speed they were moving at, Kiba was sent flying back from Akino, slamming into him as he attempted to catch her. Sorry about that, Kiba, Issei said. Don't worry about it. Kiba replied as he lifted the now unconscious Akino off of him. Kiba, can you carry her to her room, and Asia, can you heal her up? Rias asked, to which the pair nodded as they went inside carrying Akino's unconscious body. Seems like you had a productive training session, Rias said, turning her attention back to Issei. You could say that, Issei replied. What do you two do? Rias asked curiously. You'll just have to wait and see, Issei answered, annoying Rias. Anyways, let's head inside, I need to wash. I suppose. Rias agreed, turning around to walk inside with Issei and Kaneko following behind. In the bathroom. Man, the baths here are great, Issei said as he moved to another side of the bath which took up the entire room. And they're massive too. It would be a shame to not be able to enjoy it. Thanks for rubbing it in, Ddraig complained aloud. No problem, Issei replied back when suddenly he heard someone approach the door and sensed the familiar aura. Kaneko, Issei called out, not getting a response, and as the door opened his eyes widened. Standing in the doorway was Kaneko, covered only with a towel that went around her chest. I've come to help wash you, Kaneko said nervously. Oh, thanks. Issei stuttered out, embarrassed, turning even redder when Kaneko dropped her towel. Hopping in beside Issei, Kaneko began washing his back and even his tails until they were both sitting next to each other awkwardly. Ddraig, what do I do? Issei asked in a panic. I might be willing to help if you apologize, Ddraig replied. Suddenly Issei's attention was brought back when he felt Kaneko's head resting on his arm, and after a few minutes thought to himself, this isn't so bad. As he put his arm around her, and stayed like that till they got out of the bath, deciding to sleep in the same bed for the rest of the time they were here after what happened the previous night. Issei and Kaneko both got ready for bed. But before that, Issei turned to Kaneko and asked, Can I ask a favor? What is it? I'm about to talk to the tailed beast inside of me, and I'm not sure how it'll turn out, so if worst comes to worst I need you to get everyone out of here. Alright then, Kaneko answered without hesitation. That was quick, Issei said, surprised. Well, I trust that you'll be able to handle the situation fine, so I've got nothing to worry about, Kaneko answered truthfully. Thank you, that means a lot, you know, Issei admitted, which caused Kaneko to smile. Sitting in a meditative position on the bed, Issei took one last look at Kaneko, who was sitting beside him, before he closed his eyes and immersed himself deep into his subconscious until he reached the familiar large door gates that separated him and the tailed beast. Boy, you there? Issei yelled out as a large figure about the same size as Ddraig appeared, and getting a good look at it, finally Issei saw that it was a large fox with 9 tails similar to his fox form, only darker and much larger. "What do you want?" the large beast said, annoyed. "I've come to talk," Issei admitted. "I have no interest in talking to someone like you." "But why?" Issei asked, now confused. "I'm not obliged to tell you anything," the beast said, annoying Issei this time. "Look, I'm trying to help here." "Help, you say? If you knew how many times I've heard that." "What do you mean?" "I have been sealed away for thousands of years by every manner of race, even by my own offspring, the fox yokai. I have heard all the lies and deception in an attempt to get control of my power, and even now most of my kind are dead, so tell me, why should I trust some kid who has no way to back his words?" the tailed beast said angrily, and making Issei slightly uneasy from the level of power it released despite the seals separating them. "You're right, I don't have a way to back my words," Issei said, feeling slightly defeated. "Exactly, this discussion is over, leave." Leaving his subconscious, Issei opened his eyes and looked to his sight and saw Kaneko still sitting there. "How did it go?" Akino asked curiously. "Honestly, it went horrible. It doesn't trust me at all, but I haven't given up yet. I will get him to trust me," Issei said, causing Kaneko to giggle a bit. "What is it?" Issei questioned. "It's nothing. Come on, let's go to bed," Kaneko said, to which Issei agreed, and after a few minutes of cuddling the two quickly fell asleep. "Damn it," Issei thought to himself as he quietly hopped out of bed. It was currently early in the morning of the day they were fighting Riser, and Issei had just finished getting dressed and was walking to the door when he heard Kaneko call out tiredly. "Issei, where are you going?" "I'm just going to do something, I'll be back soon," Issei replied as he opened the bedroom door. "All right then," Kaneko said, falling asleep moments later, causing Issei to smile softly. Closing the door quietly, Issei made his way through the house and out the front door, transforming into his fox form. "Where are you going?" Ddraig asked as Issei ran through the woods. "I need to talk to him." Leaping from tree to tree, Issei eventually reached a dirt track that led up one of the mountains, and transforming into his humanoid form, he continued up it, eventually reaching the top. "Morning," Merrick, who was sitting on the edge of mountain, said to Issei. "Morning," Issei replied as he sat down next to him. Sitting quietly for a few minutes, Merrick eventually spoke. "Issei, I'm sorry." Staying quiet for a few moments, Issei responded. "It's fine. I understand why you did it. That still doesn't excuse sealing your memory away, so if there's anything you need or want me to do, I'll do it. Doesn't matter what it is." Inking to himself, Issei responded after a few seconds. "All right then, help me track down and kill that bastard Rizvan Liv and Lucifer." "I'd be happy to," Merrick said with a smile as he pulled Issei into a hug. All right, let go of me," Issei said, annoyed as he pulled away and hopped up from the cliff edge. By this time the sun had already risen and both of them were hungry, as confirmed by the grumble that came from both their stomachs, causing them to laugh. "Come on, let's go get breakfast. It's an important day today," Issei said, giving a hand to Merrick and helping him up. "Whoever gets back last has to cook." "Oh, you're on," Issei said with a smile as they both suddenly vanished from the mountain peak in an insane show of speed and began heading back to the house. Jumping from tree to tree, both Issei and Merrick were neck and neck until Issei felt his instincts telling him to dodge, which he listened to, narrowly dodging a blade of energy which took out the tree behind him and causing him to fall behind slightly. Looking over to Merrick, Issei saw him grinning with his sword out. "Hey, that's cheating," Issei yelled. "What was that?" "We're going too fast, I can't hear you," Merrick called back while grinning even more. "Fine, then we'll play it by your rules." Gathering energy in his stomach, Issei then spat out dark red draconic flames from his mouth, which traveled in a concentrated line and hit the trees in front of Merrick. "Shit!" Merrick yelled out in a panic as he plummeted to the ground, not having anywhere to land. "Issei, while I appreciate you using your dragon abilities for the first time in a while, are you sure you're not gonna burn the forest down?" Ddraig asked, somewhat concerned. "Don't worry about it, I'll fix it later," Issei replied, when suddenly a tree which had fallen down long ago came rocketing up from below and hit him, sending him flying into the air. "Ow, that hurt." Issei said aloud as he began falling back to the earth. Inking quickly, Issei grabbed onto a nearby branch as soon as he got into the tree line and used the momentum from that to propel himself forward, allowing him to catch up to Merrick again, this time focusing on running as they continued making their way to the house and reaching the clearing. They both leapt into the air, slamming onto the ground near the front door and not bothering to soften the landing as they both left sizable creators. "Well, looks like you're cooking," Merrick said while cleaning the dust off of himself. "What are you talking about? I clearly beat you," Issei retorted when suddenly they both heard the front door open and looked to see Rias, Kaneko, Akino, and Kiba all standing there angrily. "What the hell are you two doing?" Rias shouted angrily. "What do you mean?" Issei asked sheepishly. "You realize how early it is, don't you?" Suddenly Rias stopped talking as she looked up and saw a large cloud of smoke rising from the surrounding forest. Issei and Merrick both looked at each other nervously as they could practically see the veins popping out of her forehead. "Issei?" Rias spoke, grabbing his attention. "Yes, ma'am," Issei replied nervously as stood up straight. "Until you fix the damage you've caused, you're banned from talking to Kaneko." "Wait, what?" Issei said as he tried looking to Kaneko for help. However, she merely stared at him, annoyed at him from waking her up, but although she would never admit it to Rias, she did find the situation to be quite funny despite being woken up so early by him. Not seeing any other choice, Issei said defeated, "Yes, ma'am," while walking back towards the forest, causing Merrick to laugh. However, one look from Rias and he quickly followed suit. "She's scary," Merrick whispered. "I know, right?" Issei whispered back, although they both stopped when they felt a glare from behind. While Issei and Merrick were busy fighting the fire, Rias and her peerage went back inside to have breakfast while Lokino went to wake up Asia, who somehow slept through it all. While they were all eating, Rias asked, "Is everyone ready for today?" "Yes," everyone replied in unison, "but now I'd like a favor from you all. I only want to rely on Issei's power if we have no other choice. We've been training hard this past week and I want us to try and beat Riser with our own power." Smiling, Kiba spoke. "I'd have it no other way, President. I agree. I reckon we can beat that perverted womanizer with our own power," Akino added. Meanwhile, Kaneko and Asia nodded, causing Rias to tear up slightly. "I could really have no better peerage than this, thank you all," Rias said happily. Meanwhile, in the surrounding forest, "Fuck Issei, why did you have to use fire in a forest?" Merrick yelled while using water magic to try and put out the fire which was surrounding them. "Shut up, I wasn't planning this far ahead," Issei shouted back while instead using Jiu-Jitsu to shoot out water all around him. "Clearly you weren't even thinking properly, and for fuck's sake, why did you have to use your dragon flames? Do you know how hot these get? Well, maybe if you didn't attack me in the first place this all could have been avoided," Issei replied as they continued bickering back and forth until they eventually got rid of all the flames. Back at the house, everyone was waiting for Issei and Merrick to get back. So in the meantime, Rias and Akeno were playing chess while Kuba, Kaneko, and Asia were all watching TV when suddenly they all heard the front door open and looked up to see both Issei and Merrick walking covered in ash and looking pissed. No said a word as they both walked into separate bedrooms to change. "God damn it, my kimono's all dirty," Issei thought to himself as he took off his dirty kimono and laid it on the bed. "Well, I'll deal with that after a shower." Then minutes later, Issei emerged from the bathroom and was surprised to see a black kimono with a little note that said, "Gotta go, but I'll leave this with you. I wonder where he's going," Issei thought before he put on his kimono and left to go meet up with everyone. Meeting up with everyone in the lounge room, Rias asked, "Where's Merrick?" "He said he had to go somewhere, but more importantly, are you ready for today?" Issei replied when suddenly he sensed someone about to teleport, and quickly hid his tails and ears. "We are." Right as Rias finished talking, a white magic circle appeared and out came a silver-haired maid. "Rias, are you ready?" Graphia asked. "Yes, we are." "Good. By the way, I thought I should let you know that the great devil Lucifer will be watching the game," Graphia explained, causing Rias to frown. "Oh. Great," Rias replied, annoyed. Meanwhile, Issei was panicking. "Should I hope he doesn't say anything about me to Azazel? Don't you remember? You told the maid your name when you first met her. There's a chance he already knows who you are, and said something to Azazel." Ddraig spoke up. It's not like I even revealed my race. What are the chances? Issei replied. You don't think Azazel did his research on the two of you? I'm sure a name's all he needs to come and investigate. You have a point, Issei said when suddenly he snapped back to reality and realized everyone was looking at him. Are you alright, Mr. Hayade? Grafia asked while looking at him suspiciously. Yes, sorry about that, I zoned out. Issei lied. Right, if that's all then we shall go. A magic circle red this time appeared behind Grafia which everyone moved to step on, after which teleporting them to what looked to be Orgrim. Infused Asia asked, Why are we at school? Did something go wrong? No, Issei replied. It may look like it, but it seems we're in alternate space, kindle like an alternate dimension. Correct. If you walk over to the window you'll see the difference. Rias interjected. Walking over to the window, Asia was surprised to see the sky, which was green. Suddenly Grafia, as that sounded like it came from all around them, spoke up. Each team has been given an area that will serve as its home base. Lady Rias, your team will be in the Orc Room in the old schoolhouse. Lord Riser's home base will be located in the principal's office in the new school. Pawns will be promoted if they can make their way to the home base of the opposing team. Good luck to all. With that, the voice cut out and everyone stood there silently until Rias spoke up. Issei, I have a favor to ask you. Sure, what is it? Issei asked. I want to beat Riser with our own strength, so only step in if there's no other option. Fair enough, I can understand that. Very well, I'll respect your wishes. Thank you, Rias said with a soft smile before turning her attention back to everyone else. Rafia's boy suddenly spoke up again. All right, devils, let the game begin. In a room that overlooked the schools sat one of the strongest devils in existence, Circeus Lucifer. Next to him was Grafia Lucifage, also known as the strongest queen. They're making a move. Grafia commented as they watched Kiba and Kaneko leave the Orc Room. Sighing to himself, Circeus replied, You're already here. You may as well sit down. Infused, Grafia turned around and was surprised to see Merrick standing behind them, casually leaning on the wall as she quickly stood defensively in between him and Circeus. Nice to see her still as sharp as ever, Merrick said with a chuckle. Unamused, Grafia responded. Who are you? Before Merrick could say anything, Circeus spoke up. Stand down, Grafia, don't worry, I know him. Causing Grafia to eye him suspiciously before sitting back down. Cheers for that, love, Merrick said before also sitting down next to Circeus. What exactly do you want? Circeus asked in a serious tone while watching the match. Information. What about? Irrevivum Lucifer? Merrick answered seriously while surprising both Grafia and Circeus. What could you possibly want with that man? Circeus asked. Doesn't matter, all that's important is that I find him. Alright then, however, what will you do for me? Well, win this match and get your sister out of the arranged marriage, of course. Now come on, let's focus on the match. Back in the school, Kaneko and Kiba split up, with Kiba going to set traps while Kaneko headed to the gymnasium alone in her cat form. Climbing onto a beam in the gym, Kaneko looked down and saw 4 of Riser's peerage members. The one at the front, who appeared to be the leader of the group, was a girl with black hair wearing a navy blue kipeo with gold accents. Next to her was another girl with blue hair wearing a white haori worn under a red happy coat, wielding a wooden bow staff. Finally behind them were 2 twin girls with turquoise hair wearing gym uniforms. While thinking of a way to attack, an idea suddenly popped into her mind as she quickly leaped over to another beam until she was eventually in the middle of the gym, and just behind the 4 peerage members. Damn it, where are they? The girl at the front said, frustrated. While the 4 girls looked around confused, Kaneko transformed back into her humanoid form, staying carefully balanced on the beam she was standing on, and began to gather senjutsu. Gathering enough, she looked down one last time before jumping off the beam and punching the very middle of the gym with a senjutsu-infused punch, causing the entire gym to shake as cracks shot out on the ground all around her, and began traveling up the walls. Surprised from the sudden attack, the 4 girls turned around and saw Kaneko lifting her arm up from the ground before sticking her tongue out, transforming into her cat form and running off. After her, the same girl from before ordered, when suddenly they saw a piece of debris fall from the roof and looked up horrified to see the roof and walls about to come down. Run, she yelled, But it was too late as the entire gymnasium came tumbling down. 3 of Riser's pawns have retired. Graffia's voice rang out throughout the school. I guess one survived, Kaneko said as she transformed back into her humanoid form and watched as the leader of the group climbed out from the rubble with noticeable injuries. AMU? She said, frustrated. My name is Shulin and I am the Rook of Riser Phoenix, and I shall take you down. Lifting her hands up, they suddenly caught on fire as she prepared to attack when suddenly a large bolt of holy lightning came thundering down and hit her. One of Riser's rooks have retired. Nice one, Akino. Kaneko called out as she looked up in the air and saw Akino flying with a sadistic smile and one of her fallen angel wings out, proudly surprising Kaneko. With Kiba. While all this was happening, Kiba had been watching 3 of Riser's pawns while they were walking through thick fog he created with magic. 2 of the girls appeared to be dressed in maid outfits, with one of them having brown hair, while the other had lighter brown hair. The third one had long pale blue hair with tan skin and was wearing a bikini with bits of silk loincloth. Remembering what Merrick told him, he made sure not to reveal himself until he had the upper hand, and as they stood there a series of blades shot up from the ground, piercing the brown hair pawn in the leg, while the other 2 managed to dodge them. One of Riser's pawns has retired. Emmett, where are you? The leftover maid said angrily as the other one was teleported away. Hello ladies, might I interest you with a fight? Kiba said with a smile as he emerged from the fog. Was this you? The maid asked angrily. I have no idea what you're talking about, Kiba replied sarcastically, causing the 2 to attack. With Kaneko. While awaiting orders from Rias, Kaneko suddenly felt her instincts telling her to move, which she listened to, narrowly dodging a large explosion. You actually managed to dodge, I'm impressed. A woman with a voluptuous figure and long purple hair with matching eyes said with an amused tone. Emmett, that's Riser's queen, Kaneko said in frustration as she looked up and saw her flying in the sky. Don't worry, I'll handle her, Akino said with a sadistic smile as she flew in between them, letting Kaneko run off. You'll handle me, will you, Priestess of Thunder? Riser's queen asked, even more amused this time. Of course, Akino replied with a chuckle. You know, I was actually looking forward to fighting you, but by the looks of your wings you appear to be a fallen angel. That should make beating me even more enjoyable then. Maybe, but I'd rather just kill you. My name is Eubelina, the Queen of Riser Phoenix, and the one who will dispose you, fallen scum, Eubelina said in a disgusted tone. Bring it on then, Bomb Queen, Akino replied as the 2 began trading blows with each other, with Akino using holy lightning while Eubelina used explosion magic. 2 of Riser's pawns have retired, Kaneko heard Graffia's voice call out, and as she watched the 2 begin to fight, Kaneko heard metal clash behind her and turned around to see Kiba having blocked a strike from a girl with light brown hair, wearing knight's armor and wielding a flaming sword. So you're the knight? Kiba asked as the 2 backed off. Correct, I am Carloman, the Knight of Riser Phoenix, Carloman replied as she got ready to attack again. Bring it on. With that, the 2 dashed towards each other too fast for even Kaneko to keep up with, only seeing sparks from their sword clashing. Looks like the little kitty has gotten lost, Kaneko heard someone call out from behind her. Turning around, Kaneko saw the source of the voice, which was a young girl with blonde hair and blue eyes wearing a long pink dress. Just like Kriya's planned. Kaneko muttered to herself as she watched the rest of Riser's peerage come out. What was that? I couldn't hear you, the blonde-haired girl called out arrogantly. Oh well, doesn't matter, my brother will soon have what he wants. Your brother? Kaneko asked. Correct, I am Ravel Phoenix and my brother's bishop, Ravel explained proudly. Meanwhile, Kaneko had a disgusted look on her face and almost looked like she was going to throw up. You're a part of your brother's harem? Kaneko asked in a disgusted tone while also causing Ravel to turn red, embarrassed. No, you sicko, I am merely his bishop, Ravel replied quickly, causing Kaneko to breathe a sigh of relief. Looking around, Kaneko saw 4 other peerage members start to surround her. 2 of them were twin Nikomatas, with one having red hair and blue eyes while the other had blue hair and red eyes, both of which were wearing short white sailor uniforms that covered only their breasts, and short black skirts. The other girl, which Kaneko presumed to be a knight, had long black hair, wearing a white top and red skirt with bits of armor around her hands and feet, wielding a large Zweihander. Lastly was a girl with black hair wearing a pink and blue kimono. Shit, I'm surrounded. Kaneko thought to herself before she heard Ravel call out. Everyone attack. Narrowly dodging a double strike from the twin Nikomatas, Kaneko was forced onto the defensive as she was attacked by both Nikomatas and Knight. Despite having enhanced senses, there was only so much she could do when suddenly she saw a chance to attack the knight, but was denied as Ravel shot out a fireball, hitting her directly in the stomach, causing her to spit out blood. While this was going on, Rias and Asia had been through the school in an attempt to surprise attack Riza. However, it was futile as Riza had realized what had been going on and met them on the roof. Seems like you saw through my plan, Rias said with a smile as she dropped Asia next to her and retracted her wings. Well, of course, a raiding game virgin like you has no chance against someone as great as me. Nice to see you're as vulgar as ever. Well, of course, now let's finish this and have our wedding as soon as possible. Riza responded. However, just before they were about to attack, a blood-curdling scream rang out throughout the entire arena, causing Riza to smile. Looks like your rook is having some fun there. Looking towards the source of the scream, Rias was horrified to see Kaneko lying on the ground with a sword having pierced her back. Kaneko, Rias called out when everyone suddenly felt the school begin to shake, and over at the orc room blood-red aura came shooting out in the sky. Ravel watched in horror. She saw Issei appear next to Kaneko, however, instead of the usual fox ears and tails, had two large crimson-red draconic wings with his arms and legs up to his knees and elbows to change into that of a dragon and singular dragon tail, having replaced his usual fox ones. Lastly, he had two black horns protruding from his head and had bits of scales covering him all over. The top half of his kimono had also ripped off from the sudden transformation, annoying Merrick. Pulling out the sword, Issei used senjutsu to heal up the wound when he heard someone call out. Is that a dragon? Ravel asked, horrified, however would quickly come to regret that Issei quickly shifted his attention to her and looked her dead in the eye, causing her to turn ghost white. Oh no, you don't. The two Nikomatas called out in unison as they went to attack Issei, but were wiped out in an instant as Issei appeared to almost teleport as he appeared behind the mid-air and kicked one of the girls so hard that she went barreling into the other one, and both were retired. Two of Riser's pawns have retired. Graphia's voice rang out. 5 more to go. Issei spoke out in a deep draconic voice that sent shivers down everyone's spine. In an attempt to stop Issei from getting to Ravel, the knight that had stabbed Kaneko tried to strike Issei, but was shocked when the sword shattered on impact on Issei's scales. Brushing off the attack, Issei responded by punching the knight in the stomach and causing her to retire. One of Riser's knights had retired. Walking towards Ravel, she fell onto her knees, unable to withstand the pressure from Missy's mere presence. Get away from me, you monster, brother, please help. Ravel yelled out, terrified. Damn it, Riser said to himself before retiring his remaining bishops, leaving only his knight and queen left. Seeing the two bishops in front of him being teleported away, Issei turned around and saw Kiba and Carloman still battling, easily being able to keep up with their movements. Gathering energy in his stomach, Issei yelled out. Kiba, grabbing his attention, and who seemed to understand what Issei was doing as he jumped back seconds before Issei shot out dark red draconic flames from his mouth which covered the entire field, taking out Carloman, who wasn't expecting the attack. One of Riser's knights have retired. With Aquino, seems like things are wrapping up. Aquino commented as she watched Issei take out most of what was left of Riser's peerage. What is that monster? Eubelina asked as she turned her attention back to Aquino. A good friend. Now I suppose it's time we finish things up. What do you mean? We are nowhere near finish. Eubelina was cut off when Aquino began summoning large amounts of holy lightning. However, what was most surprising was that she began absorbent until there was nothing left other than a holy aura that surrounded her with sparks of lightning shoot around her. It's been fun fighting you, Aquino said as she raised her arm and a massive bolt of holy lightning came shooting out from it. Eubelina tried putting up barriers, however it was all in vain as the lightning broke through them all and struck her with such intensity that she only lasted a second before retiring. The rest is up to you, Issei, Aquino said before falling unconscious and also retiring. Both risers and rias queens have retired. What Issei? During Graphia's announcement, Issei turned his attention to Riser, who seemed even more unnerved than before. Suddenly Issei vanished from everyone's sight, and in an instant appeared behind Riser, and grabbed him by the neck. "It doesn't matter what you do to me, I'll just heal," Riser said, trying to sound confident while trying to break out of Issei's grip. However, all of his confidence was gone when Issei responded with, "Good." Breeze and the others watched as Issei used his newly grown wings to begin flying higher and higher into the sky until he suddenly stopped and stayed there for a second before beginning to plummet downwards to the point he turned into a blur, all the while holding Riser's face forward and upon impact with the ground, absolutely annihilating his head and mutilating his body. Riser, however, true to his word, began healing. However, Issei didn't relent as he started beating his body, destroying it in only a few hits over and over again, letting him heal partially before continuing, eventually stopping and let Riser heal completely before asking him, "Make your choice, Riser, I can keep going if you like." "I retire," Riser whispered out, terrified of the beam that stood in front of him, but that Riser teleported away as Grafia called out, "Team Rias has won the raiding game," as the rest of them were teleported away. "But Sertsix? Merrick, who is that?" Sertsix asked, slightly unnerved, while Grafia stayed quiet. "You'll find out soon enough," Merrick responded before teleporting away, leaving Serzik and Grafia alone to contemplate the one-sided beatdown they just watched. Looking around the large ornate room where he'd just been teleported, Issei took a deep breath before looking up and roaring loud enough to put even the mightiest of dragons to shame, also causing both the building he was in and surrounding area to shake. After calming down, he heard someone behind him talk. "Issei, your appearance." Turning around, Issei noticed both Rias, Kiba, and Asia staring at him. Now, being an expert in senjutsu allowed Issei to do many things, one of which was being able to sense emotions through the life force of others, and looking at the trio, Issei could sense only one thing: fear. Taking a step towards them, Issei watched as they both instinctively put their hands as if ready to fight, while Leha stood still, all unnerved and unsure of what they all saw when Issei suddenly spoke. "You can calm down, I only did what was necessary." "What do you mean?" Rias asked, still unsure. "Best way to beat an immortal is by breaking them mentally, and the best way to do that happens to be through pain." Suddenly Issei's body began to revert back to normal, only this time he didn't have his tails nor his ears out, deciding to take a human form due to not knowing where he was. "Still, I apologize for attacking without consulting you." Before Issei could say anything else, Rias spoke up. "It's alright, I think anyone would do the same if someone they, was in danger like that," Rias said, having calmed down a bit and beginning to understand Issei's circumstances. "Thank you," Issei replied, slightly embarrassed at what she was insinuating at. "Anyways, where are we?" "We're in the Gremory Manor. I suppose my brother wanted to meet you." "Oh yeah, in case I forget." Right after finishing her sentence, Rias ran towards Issei and pulled him into a tight hug. "Thank you so much." "It was no problem at all," Issei said with a soft smile before hugging her back. "By the way, where are Kaneko and the others at?" Issei asked as they pulled away from each other. "They would be getting their wounds treated." Suddenly the doors to the room they were in opened, and out came two familiar faces, one being Sekiryuutei's and the other being Grafia. "Brother, how are you?" Rias asked the crimson-haired man. "But thanks. By the way, well done on your raiding game," Sekiryuutei replied before turning his attention to Issei. "You must be Issei Haidu." "And you must be Sekiryuutei," Issei responded, recognizing the young-looking man as one of the four great satans of the underworld. "I thank you for helping my sister win her first raiding game." "It was no problem at all," Issei replied. Everyone began feeling uneasy as the two stared at each other, either one not daring to take their eyes off the other. "So you're a dragon?" Serzik asked. "You could think of it like that," Issei answered vaguely. "Brother, is something wrong?" Rias asked, somewhat concerned. However, Serzexus didn't respond, continuing to only stare at Issei for what felt like an eternity until he smiled, as did Issei, eventually breaking down laughing as if they were old friends. "Rias, I've got Issei, you found quite an interesting character here," Serzexus said after finally calming down. "I've never met someone completely unfazed by me glaring at them." "Right," Rias replied, not knowing how else to respond. I say, I'll tell you what, as an act of good faith I'll give you any one desire you like on the condition you have a beer with me one day. Sekiryuutei offered when he suddenly felt a smack on the back of his head. Ow, what was that for? The boy is underaged. Gabriel scolded. So? That only applies to human laws. Sekiryuutei pleaded. Before Gabriel could scold him anymore, they both heard a laugh coming from Issei. I'll be sure to take you up on that offer, Issei said before sticking his hand out. Very well then, I look forward to it, Sekiryuutei said as he returned the gesture and shook Issei's hand. Until then, however, be careful, he warned, which Issei listened to. Bidding farewell, the two left, leaving everyone except Issei a bit confused. Well, that was nice. Issei broke the silence. Wait. So you know why he was glaring at you? Rias asked, confused. Correct? It's often said that eyes are the gateway to the soul. It's the idea that you can understand a person's emotions by how they look at you, and so by doing that he was seeing how I would react. Issei explained as everything began making sense. Anyways, can we go see Kaneko? Alright then. Rias complied as she quickly teleported everyone to a hospital where Issei saw both Akino and Kaneko sleeping next to each other in separate beds. Walking over to Kaneko, Issei placed his hand on her forehead, causing her to suddenly wake up. Looking around confused for a second before switching her attention to Issei, Kaneko asked, Did we win? What do you think? Issei answered with a smug expression. You worried me a bit there. I think you got it the wrong way around, Issei retorted, causing the both of them to giggle. Anyways, let's go home now. I can't wait to sleep in my own bed for once, Kaneko admitted as she tried getting up when she was suddenly stopped by Issei. What do you think you're doing? Issei questioned in a mischievous tone. Bedding out of the hospital bed, Kaneko answered, confused. I don't think so. You were injured, remember? Issei, I'm fine. They used phoenix tears to heal me. There won't even be a scar, Kaneko tried to explain. However, Issei didn't seem convinced. Well, just to be sure, Issei quickly scooped Kaneko out of the hospital bed, carrying her like a baby. Issei, what are you doing? Kaneko questioned, embarrassed by the look she was getting from everyone in the room. Well, we can't have someone injured walk around, can we? Seemed that she wasn't going to get anywhere. Kaneko buried her head into Issei's chest, trying to hide her embarrassment. Issei, what about Akino? Rias questioned. Looking at Akino suspiciously, Issei turned his hand around so it was facing her and performed a few hand signs, causing a small bolt of electricity to shoot out and hit her, causing her to moan in pleasure from the pain. I knew it, you weren't unconscious at all, Issei said, annoyed. Humph, well, at the very least you can carry me as well. Akino pouted. Nice try. It was worth a shot, Akino said, defeated as she got out of bed. Well, if that's all, then I'll see you all later, Issei said as he teleported Kaneko, Asia and himself back to Kaneko's apartment. Home sweet home. Can you put me down now? Kaneko complained. I guess so. Issei complied as he put Kaneko down. I'll go get some lunch ready, Asia spoke up. Thanks, Issei and Kaneko said in unison. When Asia made lunch, Issei quickly went to change his destroyed clothes when something surprising happened. As soon as he took the black kimono off, it began to repair itself. Clever man, Issei thought to himself as he put the now repaired kimono back on and made sure to put the one Kaneko gave him in the washing machine. Walking back into the lounge room, Issei sat down on the couch next to Kaneko while also releasing his tails so that Kaneko could use them as a pillow of sorts while watching TV until Asia finished making lunch. A few minutes later, Asia walked over with 2 plates that had sandwiches on them. Thanks for the food, Issei thanked while looking down at the plate of sandwiches Asia had prepared. It was no problem, Asia replied happily. After finishing lunch, the 3 of them spent the next few hours lazing around and watching TV with not much to do due to it being a Saturday, when suddenly they heard a knock on the door. I'll get it, Issei offered, sensing who was on the other side. Yo, Issei, Merrick said as Issei opened the door. What's up? Issei asked eagerly, wanting something to do. 2 things. First one being our agreement for me helping you train. Your first target is at the shopping mall hiding away, and second being I have some information about him. Issei nodded before talking. We'll talk about it later at a more appropriate time. For now, I'll worry about the target. What's the details? It's a stray spirit that got lost on the way to the afterlife. So just an exorcism, simple enough. Exactly, so good luck, Merrick said as he suddenly vanished from thin air. Issei sighed before turning around and calling out, Jayas too wanna go shopping? As if on cue, both of them hopped and ran towards Issei. Yes, let's go clothes shopping, Kaneko said excitedly. What do you need new clothes for? Issei questioned, confused. Not for me, for you. You're going to try on all sorts of things, Kaneko explained with an evil grin. I'm not sure I am, Issei protested. I think you are. If I remember correctly, before we started the week of training, you said something along the lines of you can ask me anything you want, and I'll do it no matter how humiliating it may be. That's exactly what I said, Issei thought to himself. She's got you there? Ddraig added between laughs. I can't wait for this. Neither can I, Issei responded sarcastically. Sighing in defeat, Issei spoke. All right. You win. Kaneko stood there with a smug smile before her, and Asia went to change clothes. A few minutes later, Kaneko emerged wearing a blue sundress. How do I look? Kaneko asked. Beautiful, Issei said, almost in a trance-like state, causing Kaneko to smile. Not long after, Asia came out wearing a skirt and a nice yellow top matching her hair color. All right, let's go then, Issei announced as hit his tails and ears and led the two out the door, closing it behind him and beginning their walk to the mall. While walking, Asia remembered she had been meaning to ask Issei earlier and decided to ask now before she forgot again. Issei, why did you have dragon wings and features? I thought you were a fox yokai. I am. The reason I was able to do that was because I have the heart of a dragon, Issei explained, much to Asia's surprise. Then wouldn't you always be looking like that then? Asia questioned, even more confused this time. Not exactly. See, I have dragon blood being pumped through my body, however, that isn't powerful enough to permanently change my appearance in any noticeable way. So using the boosted gear, I can temporarily increase that power of that blood to take on a more dragon-like appearance and transformation, Issei explained. Those having a dragon heart give you any special abilities? Kaneko asked. A fair few actually. I am for the most part immune to fire and any sort of fire attack. I have enhanced physical and regeneration abilities, and I've got access to most things that dragons have, such as fire breath, powerful instincts, and even more enhanced senses. So combining that with senjutsu, which can increase your physical abilities, Kaneko spoke. I could lift multiple large mountains with ease all at once. Issei finished her sentence. Interesting, Kaneko mentioned as they approached the mall. Before we go shopping, I just gotta do something, Issei explained. Alright then, me and Asia will go pick out some outfits for you in the meantime, Kaneko replied. Come Asia, let's go. Alright, Asia said cheerfully. Issei watched as the pair left, walking off to some part of the mall. Once they were far enough, Issei went to a quieter part of the mall to focus and began using senjutsu to search for the spirit, eventually pinning its location to a different part of the mall that was being renovated. Alright, let's do this, Issei thought as he began walking towards the spirit's location, eventually reaching it after a few minutes, and after making sure no one was around, he quickly entered the closed-off area and walked towards a corner that was being hidden by pallets. Behind the pallets, Issei could hear a faint cry, and looking behind them he saw a partially transparent boy sitting down crying. Are you okay? Issei asked, startling the young boy. You can see me? He asked carefully between tears. I can, and I'm here to help you, Issei said as he kneeled down next to him. What do you mean? He asked, confused. I'll explain in a sec. First, I want you to tell me your name. It's Okio. Alright, Okio, tell me what's the last thing you remember before you ended up like this. Okio thought for a few seconds before his eyes grew wide and he began crying again. I was in a car crash. My parents, they say, cut Okio off. It's okay, buddy. They're in a better place now, and you know what they're doing right now. What? They're waiting for you to come to them. That's not true. You're wrong. I was being naughty in the car and caused my dad to lose focus. They hate me. I know it. Issei sighed before asking. Akio, do you know what a parent's job is? No, it's to love their child unconditionally no matter what, and I promise you that right now they're anxiously waiting for you to come to them. Issei explained, causing the boy's tears to subside a bit. Are you sure? I am so pleased, don't keep them waiting any longer. I don't know how to though, Akio admitted. That's okay, I can guide you. Are you ready? Issei asked, to which Akio nodded. Issei began using senjutsu to purify and guide the boy's soul to the afterlife, causing a feeling of serenity and calmness to fall over the boy as his body began to fade away. Thank you very much, Mr. Okio said as he faded away, leaving Issei alone. I suppose I should catch up with them now, Issei said as he quickly snuck out of the closed-off area and went to go find the pair. Finding them at a clothes store, unsurprisingly enough, Kaneko asked, What were you doing? It was just something I needed to take care of. It's all sorted now, so not to worry, Issei explained, deciding not to outright say what he was doing to keep them happy. Alright. Well, we've got the first outfit ready, so go get changed. This is going to be a long day, Issei thought as he walked to the change rooms. Surprisingly enough, the outfit was fairly normal, consisting of black pants and a dark orange shirt with a small fox symbol on it. Emerging from the change room, Kaneko commented, almost seeming proud of herself. Very nice. Is that all? Issei asked hopefully. However, this quickly turned to dread as Kaneko said, while referring to a large stack of clothes Issei assumed were meant to be hung up. Not at all. And so began hours of clothes shopping for both Issei and Asia, as they realized she didn't have much clothes either. End of the day. Issei opened the door to the apartment, quickly collapsing on the couch due to the horrors of clothes shopping. Oh come on, Issei, it wasn't that bad, Kaneko said as she turned on the lights. Easy for you to say, you weren't the one who spent the past few hours as a live dress-up doll, Issei whined. Well, at least you got some new clothes now, Kaneko mentioned, referring to the literal bags of clothes Issei had to carry home. I suppose you're right. Anyways, I'll go put them away now, Issei said as he walked over to his and Kaneko's bedroom, carrying the bags with him. Spending around 30 minutes folding clothes, Issei was suddenly contacted telepathically by Merrick. Issei, you got a sec? I need to talk to you about a few things. Yeah, I'll catch up with you shortly. Okay, see you then. Finishing up the rest of the clothes, Issei walked into the kitchen to see both Kaneko and Asia making dinner. I'll be gone for a little while. Don't worry though. I should be back for dinner, Issei explained, to which they both acknowledged before going back to cooking. Transforming into his fox form, Issei leaped out the window and onto a building and began making his way to Merrick, who was waiting for him on the edge of a building. So what have you learned? Issei asked as he transformed into his humanoid form. A few things, however. I'll start with what Surzik has said. From what he knows, he's the leader of some kind of organization. However, he's not sure what they do or where he is specifically, since he disappeared during the Devil Civil War. So I pulled some strings and managed to get a name. What is it? Issei asked. The Cows Brigade. From what I've gathered, they seem to be a terrorist organization, however they're still gathering members. Anything more? Unfortunately not, however there might be more pressing issues right now. I've heard reports of multiple fragments of Excalibur. Why is that our problem? Issei asked, confused. Because of the person who is causing it. Merrick paused for a second before continuing. It's believed that Gabriel is the one responsible for it, and he seems to be making his way here. What? Why is that? Issei questioned, this time in a more worried tone. It's only a theory, but my guess is that he wants to reignite the Great War. It would be fairly easy to do so as well, since two siblings of two Mayus live here, so if a fallen angel were to kill even just one of them, it could easily restart the war. Issei thought for a few seconds before replying. I suppose it makes sense. Gabriel is a bit of a warmonger from what I heard, and probably wasn't happy with how the Great War ended. I'll try to gather some more information. For now, explain to Rias and that other peerage king what's going on when you next get the chance. Will do. Anyways, dinner is probably ready now, so I'm gonna head home. And blame you for that. I'll see you around. Saya, Issei replied before the both went their separate ways, with Merrick teleporting and Issei transforming into his fox form and head back home. Back at the house, Honiko and Asia were just setting the table when they both saw a small fox with 9 tails leap through the window. Issei, you're back just in time, Asia said as he transformed back into his fox form. Isn't that lucky? Issei replied as he sat at the table with Kaneko and Asia doing the same. Thank you for the food, Issei said before digging in. After dinner the trio watched a few horror movies, scaring them enough to not want to split end as they all decided to sleep on the couch together. Leave this place, you witch, an older lady dressed as a nun yelled. You sinner, another called out. You disrespect the Lord with your presence. A third called out to a young blonde girl with tears in her eyes. No, Asia yelled, her eyes darting open. Looking around she realized she had fell asleep on Issei's tails. Meanwhile Kaneko was wrapped around his head, causing her to giggle a bit. It was just a dream, I need to calm down, Asia thought to herself as she hopped off of Issei and the couch. Having a shower and getting dressed for the day, Asia started cooking breakfast when she heard a yawn from the couch. Morning, Asia, Issei called out, still half asleep. Good morning, Issei, Asia called back. What's for breakfast? Issei asked as he hopped up and laid Kaneko gently on the couch. Dust eggs and bacon on toast, Asia replied when they both heard a ding prompting Issei to check his phone. Issei sighed, muttering something quietly to himself before looking up. Sorry, I've gotta go. If I'm not back when breakfast is ready, just eat without me. What are you doing? Asia asked curiously. Fulfilling a deal. Anyways, see you later, Issei said quickly, hiding his tails and ears before exiting the apartment. Wonder what that is, Asia thought before going back to cooking. A few minutes later Asia heard another yawn come from the couch and saw Kaneko rise up. Morning, Nasia? Kaneko managed to get out barely awake. Morning, Kaneko, Asia replied back with a small giggle. Walking over to the tap, Kaneko washed her face a few times, waking her up a bit before asking, Where's Issei? He said he had to go do something and to eat breakfast without him if he doesn't come back in time. I wonder what he's doing, Kaneko thought aloud. I did as well, but for now why don't you sit at the table? Breakfast is almost ready. All right then, Kaneko said as she went to go sit down at the table, patiently waiting for breakfast. In the meantime, however, they began chatting. Do you know what we're doing now? Asia asked as she took an egg off the pan and placed it onto a plate. Not sure. It seems like everything should go back to normal, but I doubt it. With so much happening so suddenly, it doesn't feel like the end of it. I agree, there's got to be a reason for all of this. Yeah, by the way, how have you been coping now that you're a devil? It's a big change, especially since you were a nun, Kaneko asked curiously. It's been great. I don't think I've been happier than when I met Issei and everyone else. It is a little sad though, I can't pray to God anymore. I suppose that is a downside for you, although if you're happy and don't regret your decision, then that's all that matters. I would never regret my decision to live as a devil, Asia said happily, causing Kaneko to smile. But Issei, and in construction site Issei stood over a bloody humanoid creature with the body of a spider. Fuck, this is one hideous stray devil, Issei mumbled to himself, annoyed having to do a job first thing in the morning. A few moments later, however, Issei called out. I know you're here, there's no point trying to be sneaky. I'm impressed. I even went through the effort of hiding my presence, a tall dark figure with a hood hiding its face said as it emerged from behind a pillar. Who are you? Issei questioned cautiously, sensing the being's power. Who am I? The figure said as he removed the hood and 10 black wings emerged from its back. I am fallen angel Cockable, he continued. Adding a good look at him, Issei saw that he had long black hair with red eyes and pale skin with pointy ears as well that reminded him of an elf. Why are you here, Gabriel? Issei asked seriously as he readied himself for a battle if things escalated. They'll offer you something, of course. What could you possibly offer me? There's no need to be so rude. You think I enjoy talking to an inferior race, Gabriel said while raising his aura slightly. Anyways, I'm going to give you a choice, Red Dragon Emperor. And what's that? Either leave and never return and you can stay alive, or stay and die. So you do plan on killing the Mayu siblings, Issei assumed, causing Cockable to grin. And restart the Great War, Cockable finished. Are you insane? You realize if you were to reignite the Great War, you'll only get yourself and everyone else killed. And even if you were to restart the war, why do you think Azazel would let you live after that? Issei asked, completely dumbfounded by the rogue fallen angel. Well, first, if the Great War were to reignite, that pussy Azazel would need all the fallen angels he can and would have to allow me to fight, and second, unlike last time when Azazel pulled us out of the war, this time we'll finish what we would have last time and crush those inferior races. Gabriel explained to the still dumbfounded Issei. Are you insane or just plain stupid? Issei taunted. Say what you want, but I've given you your warning. With that, Gabriel teleported away, leaving Issei alone. What are you going to do? Ddraig asked. Not sure, but I'm sure as hell not leaving. Issei replied as he turned around and shot blue flames out of his hand towards the stray devil's body, disintegrating it. Besides, I can handle someone like him. I wouldn't be so sure of that. Ddraig warned. What do you mean? He seemed pretty confident that he could kill you, and I don't take him as the type of person to bluff. He does seem to be aware of who I really am, considering he called me Red Dragon Emperor. Exactly. You have been very careful to hide that you are the current Red Dragon Emperor, and it's not even well known that you're a nine-tailed fox as well. He might have some sort of dragon slayer weapon that we don't know of. Ddraig explained as Issei left the construction site and began walking home. It would make sense. Anyways, thanks for the advice, I'll make sure to be careful. But Asia and Kaneko, I wonder when Issei's getting home? Kaneko said between bites when they heard the door open. Oh, I'm back. Issei called out as he walked through the door and revealed his tails and ears. What were you doing? Kaneko asked. I would also like to know, Asia added. Sitting down at the table with his breakfast, Issei began explaining. Well, in exchange for Merrick helping me train you all, I had to cover the next month of bounties and jobs. I always forget you do that stuff. Kaneko mentioned. Do you want any help with it? Nah, it's all good. Besides, it isn't too bad. It's just a little inconvenient. Issei paused for a second before asking. After breakfast, would you be able to get Rias to gather both her and Sona Citri's peerage at the Orc Room? Yes, sure, but why? I need to discuss something serious with everyone, Issei explained as he hopped up and rinsed his plate off before putting it in the dishwasher. That was quick, Asia mentioned. Yeah, I know. I smell like shit and wanted to have a shower. We can tell, Kaneko pointed out, causing Issei to laugh as he walked through the hallway towards their bedroom, grabbing a towel before hopping in the shower. A few minutes later, Asia and Kaneko rinsed their plates off before placing them in the dishwasher, after which Kaneko contacted Rias through a magic circle while they sat down and began watching TV. Rias-senpai, are you there? Kaneko, is that you? Rias asked, sounding like she just woke up. Issei asked me to tell you to gather everyone, including Sona and her peerage, and to meet at the Orc Room. Kaneko explained. Why? He said he'll explain when we get there. Alright then, I'll let Sona know and meet you there in 20 minutes. Rias finished cutting the coal ride as Issei left the bathroom wearing a plain shirt and pants he brought while shopping. Did you ask her? Issei asked as he finished drying off his hair. She said to meet her there in 20 minutes. Oh, cool. Do you want to have a shower and get changed and then walk down there? Are you saying I smell bad? Kaneko questioned, causing Issei to panic. No, I didn't mean it like that. Issei stuttered out, causing Kaneko to begin laughing. I'm just kidding. I was only teasing you. Issei breathed out a sigh of relief as Kaneko continued to giggle as she went to go have a shower. Sitting down on the couch next to Asia, they stayed quiet for a few minutes before Issei broke the silence. Asia, are you okay? What do you mean, Issei? Asia asked, being caught off guard by the question. I can sense your emotional state, and it's all over the place. You may be able to hide it by acting cheerful, but that won't work around me. I don't know. I'm happy that I'm here, but I'm scared. Scared of what? Scared of losing everything. Just like when? Asia continued when she quieted down suddenly. Just like when? What? Issei asked right as the bathroom door swung open. Are you two ready to go? Kaneki called out. We can talk about this later. Issei whispered, causing Asia to nod before turning around and saw Kaneko wearing fairly plain clothes as well, wearing a denim skirt and a white shirt with a little cat symbol on it. You look good, Issei called out, causing Kaneko to blush slightly. That wasn't the question, but thank you, Kaneko admitted. I just couldn't help myself, but yes, we are ready to go, Issei replied as he and Asia stood up and walked to the door. Issei made sure to lock up before they set off to the school grounds. What are the plans for today besides meeting with Rias and everyone else? Asia asked while they walked. I've got something I want to ask of Rias that should be possible in a few nights. What is it? Kaneko asked curiously. I want to get Asia familiar, Issei explained, much to the surprise of the two girls. Why? Asia asked. Because I won't always be able to protect you, and I heard devils make contracts with creatures, so I figured we'd get one to protect you. It makes sense, Kaneko mentioned. You've got one right, Kaneko. Yeah, it's a small cat familiar. Kaneko looked around for anyone before chanting something quietly, causing a magic circle to appear on her hand and a small cat with white fur and hazel eyes to appear in the center of it. That's cute. Her name is Shiro, Kaneko explained as the small cat jumped onto Issei's shoulder. Hello there, Shiro, Issei said as she started licking his face. I think she likes you, Kaneko said with a small giggle. I think so too, Issei agreed before he looked over to Asia and saw her staring with wide eyes. Do you want to hold her, Asia? Issei asked, although he already knew the answer. Well, Asia stuttered out before Issei grabbed the cat and placed her in Asia's arms. She's so cute, Asia said excitedly as she held Shiro close. Suddenly the cat looked to yawn before snuggling up in Asia's arms and falling asleep. I think she likes Asia even more, Issei mentioned while Asia looked to have stars in her eyes as she looked upon the small familiar sleeping in her arms. The three of them stayed quiet for the rest of the walk, not wanting to wake up the cat, and as they approached the school, Kaneko promised that Asia could hold her later before releasing the summoning. Opening the door, Issei saw the two Devil Kings with their respective peerages standing on either side of the room. I take it you're Issei, how do? A girl with a slim figure with black hair and violet eyes wearing glasses standing on the left side of the room asked. And I take it you're Sauna Citri? Issei replied back. Issei, why did you ask call here? Rias interrupted the two. Well, while on an errand this morning I happened to run into a particular fallen angel. What? Who? Rias asked seriously. Gabriel, Issei answered, causing the room to fall silent with everyone being lost for words. I take it you're all a bit surprised, so I'll explain. Yes, please do, Sona demanded. Well, like I said, I was on an errand this morning when he suddenly appeared to me and gave me an offer. Issei fell silent for a second before continuing. Either leave and never return or stay and die. Why would he offer such a thing to you? Sona's queen, Tsubaki asked. Because he intends to kill both Rias and Sona and reignite the Great War. What? Rias and Sona said simultaneously. I also believe he intends to rebuild Excalibur to its true form, Issei continued. However, this time he felt a distinct mood change from Kiba. Now hold on a minute. Why should we trust the thing you say? For all we know, you could be working with Gabriel to help trick us. A young man with short blonde hair and gray eyes accused Issei. Saji, enough of this, Sona reprimanded. However, Issei raised his hand, signaling her to stop. You want proof of my trust? Issei asked, to which Saji nodded. Very well then, what are you planning? Ddraig asked, slightly concerned to give him proof. In a flash, Issei disappeared and reappeared behind Saji. This time, however, he had both the boosted gear and his tails and ears out while also lifting Saji up by his shirt. Here's your proof. If I want you all dead, I could do it in an instant, Issei said as he put Saji down. What the hell is wrong with you? Sagi said, terrified as he ran behind Sona. Interesting, was all Sona said at the sight of Issei. Sorry about that, Issei mentioned while scratching the back of his head. It's quite alright, he asked for proof, and you gave it to him. Besides, there's not much I could do to you even if I wanted to, Sona admitted. Glad we could clear this up, Issei replied as he walked back over to Kaneko, dissipating the boosted gear. Now back to the main issue at hand, Kakable. Yes, this is quite a serious matter. I hate to do it, but I think we have to inform brother and Seraphiel. Rias spoke up. I agree, Sona added. With this situation, this delicate one wrong move could spell disaster. Issei, did Gabriel say anything more? Rias asked. No, but I'll have Merrick look into it to try and find more details. Good. Well, if that's all, I believe this is over. Yep, just make sure you two be careful, Issei said, gesturing to Rias and Sona. Will do, Rias replied while Sona simply nodded. Actually, Rias, before you go, I have something to ask you. What would that be? Would we be able to get Asia familiar? There is supposed to be a full moon in a few days, so it's the perfect time for it. We could do that. Rias agreed when Sona suddenly spoke up. Now hold on a minute, we were planning to go on the next full moon to get a familiar forsage. Well, can't we go together? Issei asked. Unfortunately not, the familiar master only takes one peerage at a time. Rias explained. How about a competition then? Issei suggested. The competition? Are you suggesting a rating game? Sona asked. Of course not. I mean, a good old-fashioned competition in sports. That could work, however, whatever team you're on would have an unfair disadvantage. Well, then I just won't participate. Issei offered, which Rias and Sona both seemed happy with. Very well then, we'll hold it tomorrow. Best of luck, Rias, you'll need it, Sona said with a competitive smile as she walked off. Oh, you're on? Rias called out before turning her attention to Issei. Waiting for everyone to leave the room, Issei asked. Rias, I don't think you would have noticed, but when I mentioned Excalibur, Kiba's emotions changed. I won't pry for details about his personal life, just make sure to check up on him, okay? I will, and thank you, Issei. No problem, Issei replied before leaving the room where Asia and Kaneko were waiting for him outside. You done? Kaneko asked, to which Issei nodded. Alright then, wanna walk her teleport back? May as well teleport, Issei answered, after which a magic circle appeared beneath them, teleporting them back to Kaneko's apartment. Anyone have any more plans for today? Issei asked. No, not really, Asia and Kaneko answered respectively. Don't devils do stuff like contracts or whatever? Issei asked. We do usually, just with all that has been happening, Rias has given us a bit of a break, Kaneko explained. Well then, wanna just watch movies all day? Issei asked, to which the pair nodded. Alright then, let's get ready for it. Putting popcorn in the microwave, Issei set the timer to 2 minutes and started it, and while waiting for it to cook, Issei shut the blinds while Asia got drinks ready, and by time the popcorn was ready, everything was prepared and they began their movie marathon. End of the day. As it started getting darker, the trio one by one started going to bed until only Asia was left on the couch, and after a while decided to go for a walk. Hearing the door close, Issei quietly hopped out of bed and began tailing Asia in his fox form. Noticing that she was going toward the old church, he wondered what she was doing and asked Ddraig. Do you have any idea what she might be doing? Not a clue, just make sure she stays safe. As Asia approached the church, a sudden bright light appeared which blinded Issei for a few seconds, allowing someone to grab Asia and disappear. Shit, Issei said aloud as he went back into his humanoid form. You had one job, Issei. It's fine, I know where they went, Issei replied as he began running toward Asia's location. Don't think you can hide from me, you bastard. That's it, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Now, let's get into the next story. What if Issei was neglected and married Gabriel? What if instead of Michael delivering Ascalon to Issei, it was Gabriel? How will Issei react to the most beautiful women in heaven? Let's us begin. Hello Issei, hi too, I am Gabriel, one of heaven's saris. A woman who was the most beautiful woman Issei had ever seen, with green eyes and long curly blonde hair, with a voluptuous figure, and 12 glowing pure white wings, said. In the shrine right now was Akino, who sat there smiling, Gabriel, who was standing also smiling, and finally Issei, who sat there awestruck at the sight of Gabriel, who seemed to be oblivious to his thoughts. Suddenly Issei was brought out of his stupor when a bright light enveloped the room, revealing a medieval sword with grey hilt, and what resembled 4 golden dragon claws pointing down the blade. The whole Issei Haidu, the sword known as Ascalon, which has also earned itself a different name. The Dragon Slayer. Gabriel said with the very aura of the blade causing his skin to crawl. You aren't going to kill me with that, are you? Issei asked nervously, causing Gabriel to giggle. Of course not, silly, this is a gift from heaven. Gabriel replied as Issei felt a wave of relief but also confusion wash over him, and seeing his confusion, she continued. We hope that you use the might of Ascalon to further your power even as the weakest dragon emperor in history. Honesty can hurt, you know, Issei said, slightly annoyed at what she said, which Gabriel found to be cute. But why me? Why would you give such an important weapon to a devil? Because now is the time to unite the three factions and put an end to the skirmishes that continue to plague us even during times of peace. Right, Issei said while he examined the sword. So how am I supposed to store this? You can assimilate it into your boosted gear. Assimilate it? Is that even possible? The scared gear follows and adapts to the needs of its host. If you want to accumulate the sword, then the sacred gear will allow for that. Ddraig spoke up as the boosted gear activated. Alright, I'll give it a shot, Issei said as he grabbed onto the handle. Focus all your thoughts on the sacred gear and the blade. Ddraig informed him, and listening to what he said, Issei began focusing on it too, while also trying to match the power of the blade until eventually a flash of crimson and gold light exploded out. Well done, Issei, Gabriel commented as the light died down, revealing the blade of Ascalon sticking out of Issei's boosted gear. Whoa, I did it, Issei exclaimed amazed while looking at the blade. We hope that you will continue to fight for the three factions, and hopefully with this upcoming summit, we can forge an alliance that will put an end to all the conflict. Yeah, of course. Well then, I shall take my leave, Gabriel said, catching Issei off guard. Wait, you're leaving already? I'm afraid so. It's been quite busy due to the upcoming summit, Gabriel explained to the saddened Issei. Can I ask you a question at least before you go? I'm afraid not, however I'll be happy to answer next time we meet. You promise? Promise, Gabriel said as a light suddenly enveloped the room and she teleported away. After a moment of silence, Akino spoke in an annoyed tone. You seem to enjoy talking with Gabriel. Oblivious to her anger, Issei replied. Of course, she's really nice and pretty. Further angering Akino. Anyways, there's something I want to talk to you about. It can wait now, let's go. Wait, what, why? Issei asked, confused. However, Akino didn't answer him as she walked out of the shrine. Weren't we meeting Rias here? I'm afraid the plans have changed, we're meeting Rias elsewhere. Akino, who finally acknowledged Issei, answered. Why? Issei asked, but before Akino could respond, she teleported away, leaving Issei alone at the top of the shrine stairs. What's that all about? Issei said, annoyed since she knew he couldn't teleport. Partner? Ddraig spoke as Issei began walk down the stairs. Yeah, Ddraig. What are your feelings towards your fellow peerage members and master? Infused, Issei asked. Why the weird question? Just answer it, partner. Ddraig answered, slightly annoyed at Issei trying to dodge the question. Well, I love them. I'd give my life to protect them if I had to. Issei answered honestly. Please don't tell them I said that, Ddraig. Don't worry, partner, I just wanted to check. Ddraig said, cutting the mental link as Issei approached the bottom of the staircase that lead to the shrine. Man, what's with Akino? Issei wondered aloud as he began walking home. Approaching his house, Issei opened the front door and was surprised to see there was no one home. Hello, anyone home? Issei yelled, only to be met with silence. That's weird, maybe they're all out. Making his way to his room, Issei sat down on his bed thinking about what's happened today. Oh shit, I fell asleep, Issei said as he hopped out of bed and hearing people in the lounge room mentioned. Sounds like everyone is back. Making his way to the lounge room, he stopped just before turning the corner. Damn it, why am I so nervous? Issei thought. Partner? Nah, don't worry, Ddraig, I'm good, Issei replied, and gathering up the courage he walked around the corner only to be greeted with everyone ignoring him. Hello? No response. Where were all of you earlier? No response again, causing Issei to begin feeling nervous. Did I do something wrong, Ddraig? Issei asked, not knowing who else to turn to. Nothing that I know of other than being a pervert, Ddraig answered as Issei went to sit down on the couch. Not helping, Ddraig, Issei said, annoyed. Issei, A familiar voice spoke from behind, causing Issei to stand up. Rias, there you are. What's going on with everyone? Issei asked as everyone went silent. Issei, yeah. Who am I to you? A simple question, yet so many thoughts were racing through Issei's mind, and thinking of a response he answered, well, you're my master, and I'd give my life to protect you. A moment of silence then fell upon the room. Issei, you're horrible, Rias said with tears running down her face as she ran to her room. I can't believe you, Issei, Asia said as she ran to comfort Rias. Come on, Issei, Kiba said disappointed. Why don't you understand Rias' feelings? Akino added. I may not be smart, but even I could understand this. Zenobia spoke. You're the worst, perv, Kaneko said with venom in her voice. Issei turned to go chase after Rias, but was stopped by Akino. Don't you dare go after her, you'll only make things worse. Asper, do you think I'm horrible too? I agree with the Missy, Gasper answered. Seeing how everyone was staring at Missy, walked out the front door in silence. Why? Why me? What did I do wrong? Why can't they give me time? Why did they look at me like that? A million thoughts were racing through Issei's mind as he was slowly becoming more and more unstable until Ddraig spoke. Issei. Snapping back to reality, Issei responded. Are you going to call me a piece of shit to Ddraig? Because if so, go for it, everyone else see. Issei. Ddraig yelled, cutting him off. Look at your reflection. Infused, Issei walked over to a window to check his reflection, and was surprised to see his eyes had turned green, with his pupils turning into slits like a dragon, and his teeth had grown sharp fangs. Brag, what's happening to me? The Juggernaut Drive. Juggernaut Drive. What's that? Issei asked as he began walking again. It's a form that temporarily removes the seal on my power, allowing my host full access to it. However, it comes with a curse that is made up of the negative emotions of my previous hosts that influence the current user to enter it, and if they're not strong enough to handle it, it'll consume their life force until they eventually die, Ddraig explained to the surprised Issei. Wait, really? Yes, so like I was going to say earlier, you need to calm down. I'm on your side and nothing will ever change that. Thank you, Ddraig. Don't worry about it. Now find somewhere to sit and relax for a while. Ddraig instructed, to which Issei listened as he found a nice spot which overlooked the city and thought about what to do next. After a few hours, Issei eventually calmed down enough that Ddraig said it was fine to go back. Alright, Issei, do you know what to do? Yes, Ddraig, don't worry, I'll be fine, Issei replied as he approached the front door. Opening the door, Issei immediately felt something was wrong, and as he ran to his bedroom he heard soft moans coming from the other side. No, she couldn't, Issei thought to himself, and opening the door he was met with his worst fears, Rias fully naked riding Kibalek. There's no tomorrow, as Issei's heart shattered. Rias? Issei said quietly. Hearing his voice, Rias was filled with horror as she quickly hopped off Kiba and covered herself. Issei, please, I can explain, she said in a panic. What use is it now? Issei replied with no emotion in his voice. Please, I was just confused. Confused. So when I get confused I'm treated as a piece of shit, but when you get confused you go and fuck Kiba. Issei yelled in anger, his eyes changing back into that of a dragon, and a dark red aura surrounded him. At this point, if everyone hadn't awoken from Issei's yelling, they felt his aura, which screamed power, as they all came rushing towards the room. What's going on here? Akino asked, however one look at Issei glaring at Rias, and she understood what happened. Okay, Issei, just calm down, okay, this isn't you, Akino said as she stood in between them, with everyone else doing the same. What? Was all Issei said while shifting his gaze to Akino. You need to calm down, Akino replied. You're going to defend her? Tell me to calm down? Issei questioned, even angrier this time. While all this was happening, Issei was hearing whispers in his head, however the angrier he got the clearer they got. Until the Juggernaut Drive, a voice said. Yes, use the Juggernaut Drive. Another voice said, give in to your emotions. Use them to destroy those who hurt you. This continued until Lise eventually snapped. I, who am about to awaken. Suddenly Issei's aura exploded as his balance breaker activated, destroying part of the building and sending everyone flying out of the building. All of a sudden a magic circle appeared revealing Sergius along with Graphia. Rias, you need to leave now. But brother, what about Issei? Rias protested but was shut down instantly. Rias, go now. Sergius yelled, raising his aura, and seeing no other choice, Rias and her peerage released their bat-like wings and flew a safe distance away, all while observing Issei as he continued to chant, I'm the heavenly dragon who has stolen the principles of domination from God. I laugh at the infinite, and I grieve at the dream. Issei's body began to grow as he started looking more and more like a dragon. I shall become the red dragon of domination, and I shall sink you to the depths of the crimson purgatory. Juggernaut drive. Issei and Ddraig yelled in unison as his aura exploded out, however only destroying the street due to a barrier Sergius and Graphia put up. What's going on here? Sergius heard a familiar voice say. Azazel, you're here, thank the mouse. So what's going on here? Why has Azazel activated his Juggernaut drive? Azazel asked as he approached Sergius. I'm not sure, but we need to stop him before he goes on a rampage. Agreed. Azazel said while releasing his wings. Oi, Issei, over here, he yelled, catching Issei's attention, who in turn let out a deafening roar. Let's go. Sergius said as the two dashed towards Issei while Graphia maintained the barrier. Sergius shot the power of destruction, while Azazel shot multiple large light spears towards Issei. However, he in turn shot out a beam of energy from his mouth which collided with the two as they fought for control until Issei eventually overpowered it, forcing the pair to dodge out of the way. Not letting the two recover, Issei dashed towards Azazel, who tried putting up a barrier, however it was futile as Issei merely broke a 10-bit onto his arm, ripping it off. Using that as a distraction, Azazel quickly jumped back and landed next to Sergius. He's too powerful to hold back against, Azazel mentioned, who seemed unfazed despite losing an arm. I have an idea. What is it? Hiding here will only cause more damage to the surrounding area and might kill someone. We have to teleport him. What, you know what will happen if we leave him by himself? He'll die. Azazel yelled angrily. I know, but what choice do we have? Think about what Issei would want. Sergius said, frustrated, causing Azazel to fall silent. Sergius knew full well what would happen to Issei if left alone, however he couldn't let his emotions get in the way of his responsibilities as a male of the underworld. Fine, match your power with mine, we'll need to hold him still, as is a little order, to which Sergius nodded. Together the pair began placing multiple seals and barriers on Issei, until even his Juggernaut drive wasn't enough to stop them until... Boost. Shit. Both of them said in unison. Boost, 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 boost x50. As is a lit's now or never. Sergius has yelled as one by one the seals and barriers broke. Suddenly Issei slowly began teleporting away, and in one last act of defiance, Ddraig yelled, Longinus, Smasher. However, instead of shooting it at Sergius or Azazel, Issei shot the beam straight into the sky, breaking the barrier surrounding them and turning the sky crimson red. And to everyone's horror, Issei raised his arm, piercing his chest and ripping out 8 objects covered in blood that looked tiny in his giant dragon claws. No, don't tell me that's, Azazel said in horror, as he watched Issei throw them to the ground before teleporting away. Rushing over to where Issei once stood, Azazel looked down to see his worst fears come true, 8 pawn pieces which were blood red and cracked. Picking them up, Azazel walked over to Sergius. What's in your hands? Sergius asked, and not saying a word, Azazel showed Sergius the 8 blood red and cracked pawn pieces. Why? Was all Azazel said. Sergius could tell he was angry, and he was as well. Brother. Sergius heard Rias, who was now clothed, call out as he looked over and saw her and her peerage rushing over. Where's Issei? She asked frantically, however began to worry more when she saw the pair's expressions. Where is Issei? Show her. Sergius said to Azazel, who in turn walked towards her and dropped the 8 pawn pieces in front of her. No, 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 Issei, where are you? Rias said in denial as she dropped to the ground, grabbing onto the pieces while she and the rest of the girls broke down in tears. Meanwhile, Kiba looked away in shame. Rias? Suzuka said, grabbing her attention. Why did this happen? The only way the Juggernaut drive could have activated is because of a strong emotional distress. Surzex asked, however she remained silent, looking down in shame until Azazel spoke. Brembury, if you do not tell us why, so help me God, I will declare war on your entire faction. Azazel threatened, even surprising Surzexus. However, Azazel had a look at Rias and Kiba before they flew away, and if what he suspected was correct, he was going to make her admit it to her brother. I would also like to know, Rias, Graphia spoke up as she landed next to Surzexus. Seeing no other option, Rias confessed the truth about what happened, and to say they were furious was an understatement. Azazel almost killed Rias, but only stopped because it would cause war. Meanwhile, Surzex almost removed her status as high-class devil, but decided not to because of public reasons. Rias, you are to stay here and wait until I think of a punishment. Maybe I'll marry you off to Riza, Surzex told Rias. That would be more of a punishment to Riza at this point, Graphia mentioned. Brother, please, I'm sore. Rias tried to talk but was cut off by Azazel, Cercetius and Graphia, all raising their auras and glaring at her. We will talk later. For now, I need to get this area repaired. You can find somewhere to sleep on your own, Cercetius said as all three of them teleported away, leaving Rias and her peerage alone to cry. With Issei teleported to a forest in the middle of nowhere, Issei began rampaging, absolutely destroying the environment and scarring the land forever until he eventually ran out of strength and fell onto the ground with his armor dissipating, revealing his destroyed and mangled up body. Hey, Ddraig. Issei called out weakly. I'm here, partner. Yes. There is no way out of this one, Issei said with a weak chuckle that caused his entire body to ache. I'm afraid so, partner. I'm sorry our time together was so short. I had fun even if it was short. You are a true friend, Ddraig. Issei replied, shocking Ddraig that he sees him as a friend. You know, Issei, over my long life all of my hosts only ever saw me as a source of power, a tool. However, the fact that you see me as a friend truly makes me happy, even if this is the end. Ddraig said, however he didn't get a reply. Issei. Ddraig yelled, trying to contact him, but it was pointless. Issei had gone into unconsciousness and only had a few minutes left alive when suddenly a bright light appeared and out came a familiar figure. Issei, no. Gabriel, who went to check the source of the power, called out as she saw his destroyed body laying on the ground. Gabriel, I need your help. Ddraig called out, catching her off guard. What happened, Ddraig? Gabriel replied as she ran to his body, feeling a slight bit of relief, since if Ddraig was able to talk to her, that meant he was still alive. Now is not the time. Issei will die soon. I need your help. Will you do it? Of course, anything you need. Gabriel assured, not wanting to see Issei die. Alright, then I need you to reincarnate Issei as an angel, Ddraig asked, surprising her again. Isn't he a devil though? Not anymore. He ejected his pieces before he was teleported and then used up his life force to fuel the Juggernaut drive, which is why I need you to reincarnate him. I'll turn his human body into that of a dragon, which should heal his it for the most part, and reincarnating him as an angel should replenish his life force, and combined with the dragonification should get most of his life back. Very well then, I'll give it a shot. Thank you. Ddraig replied while a card that had a joker on it appeared in Gabriel's hand. Alright now, Ddraig said as Gabriel placed the card in Issei's chest while he simultaneously began pumping his aura throughout Issei's body, causing it to change. How long should this take? Gabriel asked. Around 3 to 4 days, however I ask that you please look after my partner's body during this time. Of course. Gabriel answered while she picked up Issei's body. Silly dragon, she said, leaning and kissing him on the head while teleporting away with him. Issei's subconscious. Where am I? Did I die? Issei wondered as he looked around, seeing only darkness. Issei. A familiar voice spoke. Ddraig, is that you? Indeed, partner. Ddraig replied as Issei watched an explosion of fire in front of him, and out came a large western red dragon. Shouldn't I be dead? How am I talking to you? Issei asked curiously. Because you aren't. Ddraig answered bluntly. But how? I even ejected my evil pieces. Because of me, I've turned your body into that of a dragon. Meanwhile, Gabriel reincarnated you as an angel. Gabriel did what? How did she find me? Issei asked, surprised. You weren't exactly stealthy, Issei. You were letting off a lot of power. In fact, I'm surprised someone else like the white dragon didn't find you before her. You should consider yourself lucky because you've been presented with a wonderful opportunity, Ddraig explained. An opportunity for what? A new chance of life, a way to reinvent yourself freed from the burdens as a devil. Okay. Was all Issei said, somewhat surprising Ddraig. He knew the Issei from a few days ago, may have said something hopeful, or even something pervy. However, now Issei was now a shell of his previous self, burdened with pain and anguish from not only being betrayed by those who he loved but also from the hate and negative emotions experienced from the Juggernaut drive. So what do we do now? Issei asked. Now you wake up, Ddraig said as Issei was forced out of his subconscious. Opening his eyes, Issei looked around his room, which looked to be in a hospital. Issei, you're awake, a familiar voice said as a figure jumped onto him. Irina, is that you? Don't tell me you've forgotten me already, Irina said in a fake hurt voice while getting off of him. Sorry about that, I guess I'm still half asleep. Don't worry about it, I almost didn't recognize you at first either, Irina admitted, confusing Issei. What do you mean? Oh, that's right, I guess you haven't seen yourself yet, come with me. Helping Issei up from his bed, Irina led Issei to a mirror, and to his surprise, he looked completely different. His once brown hair had turned white, meanwhile his eyes had turned green with draconic slits, along with sharp fangs for his jaws, and lastly his body had grown larger and more lean, sitting at a comfortable 6 foot. However, most noticeably, his whole chest and back were covered in a series of small red scales which led up to wrists. Isn't it cool you've got dragon scales all over you even though you're an angel now? Irina said excitedly. However, Issei didn't respond, he just stared at the mirror, as if he was looking through it. Issei? Irina asked carefully. She knew what Issei had been through due to Ddraig explaining what had happened to Gabriel, who in turn told her, and from one look at Issei's eyes, when he had woken up, she knew this was a different Issei to the one she knew. The once happy and full of life look in his eyes had been replaced with a dead, emotionless look. Hearing Irina call out his name, Issei snapped out of his trance and replied, "Oh yeah, sorry I wasn't paying attention. Don't worry about it, come on, get changed and we'll go see Gabriel," Irina said as she left some fresh clothes on his bed and then left the room. Man, I feel weird, Issei said to himself while putting his clothes on, which was a plain white shirt and pants. It's because of your transformation you've undergone, Ddraig spoke up. What do you mean? You've gained what would have taken years to achieve in a matter of days. The level of power between your old self and now is quite literally insane. However, this doesn't mean you should try and fight the strongest person you can. Having power and being able to use it are two very different things, so make sure you train, Ddraig explained while Issei finished getting dressed. What about the scales, are they here to stay? Issei asked. What's wrong with them? You look more like a dragon now. They seem incontinent to have out all the time, Issei said while walking to the door. You've got a point, but don't worry, like I said earlier, with training you'll gain more control and eventually you'll be able to hide them whenever you want, or even transform more of your body into dragon features, Ddraig explained as Issei opened the door. Issei, are you ready? Irina, who was standing in the hallway outside the door, asked. I am, Issei replied back. Alright then, let's go, Irina said excitedly as she led Issei through the hallway and out of the hospital. Welcome to heaven, Irina said while Issei looked around. Heaven has multiple floors, right? Correct, this is the 5th one and where the hospital and other research facilities are run. Where we're going is the 6th floor, Irina told him, after which they began walking towards what Irina described as a golden elevator, which is how they traveled from level to level. However, while walking, Issei kept noticing the stares he was from the other angels, which Irina noticed too. Don't worry about it, they're just not used to you, that's all, Irina said, trying to cheer him up. Right, Issei replied, not sounding convinced, and as they continued walking they eventually reached the elevator. It really is golden, Issei mentioned, slightly surprised. It surprised me as well, but what else could you expect from heaven? Irina commented while they walked inside. Inside the elevator was 7 buttons labeled 1 to 7, to which Irina pressed the 6th. Orc room. Meanwhile, back on Earth, Rias and the rest of her peerage were all sitting around the orc room, either quietly crying or trying not, except for Kiba, who was looking away in shame, not even being able to look at himself in the mirror without feeling disgust wash over him. Rias, meanwhile, had been replaying the events that occurred over and over again in the mind, until she remembered a particular fallen angel. Rainer? Rias muttered as everything started to click and a wave of realization washed over everyone who knew who she was. Oh God! Okino said, horrified, giving everyone a headache. Who's Rainer? Zenobia asked while Gasper, who had been in his box, listened up. She was Issei's old girlfriend who tricked and killed him because of his sacred gear. Rias explained, angry at herself for not figuring it out earlier. Damn it! Kiba yelled, smashing his fist into the wall, causing it to crack, and storming out. Kiba! Asia called out, concerned, trying to run after him, but was stopped by Okino. He needs some time alone. Okino explained, causing Asia to sit back down as she began to cry again. Say please forgive me, Ria said to herself as she also began to cry again. 6th floor of heaven. On the 6th floor of heaven was Michael and Gabriel busy talking to each other when suddenly they heard the elevator open and was surprised to see Issei and Irina step out. Issei, you're awake, Gabriel said happily as she rushed over and pulled Issei into a hug. You're not hurt or anything, are you? She asked concert while still hugging him. I'm okay, Issei replied while slightly uncomfortable. He knew his old self would have been flooded with pervy thoughts over something like this, however now not even one entered his mind which confused him, which Gabriel seemed to notice as she let go. Oh sorry, I didn't mean to make you uncomfortable. No, it's fine, Issei assured. Issei Hadu, it's a pleasure to meet you, Michael announced as he approached him. It's good to meet you too, Lord Michael, Issei said, surprising him a bit at being called Lord, however he didn't mention it. I assume you are aware of what has happened. Greg told me that Lady Gabriel reincarnated me as an angel, Issei answered, causing Gabriel to pout a bit from being called Lady Gabriel by Essie. More specifically, you've been reincarnated as her Joker. But before he could say any more, Gabriel spoke up. Essie, just call me Gabriel. There is no need to say lady, she complained, slightly annoyed. Sorry, I didn't mean it. I just didn't want to be rude and disrespect you, Aseel said, which caused Gabriel to pout slightly again but decided to drop it this time. Anyways, Michael said, trying to get control of the situation again. For now, I just want you to rest and get used to your new life here. Would it be alright if I trained? I want to get used to my new power, Issei asked. Of course, why don't you have Irina lead you to the training ground? I could take him, Gabriel offered, but was instantly shut down by Michael. No. You have work to do. You're no fun, Gabriel complained again before turning her attention back to Issei. I'll see you later, Issei, she said while hugging him. See you later, and by the way, thank you for saving me. I'll do whatever I can to repay you. You can start with just saying Gabriel. I'll try, Issei said as he and Irina turned to leave. After entering the elevator and pressing the first floor where the training grounds were, Irina asked, Are you sure you should be training? I mean, you have only just woken up. Maybe you should take some time to rest and recover. Staying quiet for a few seconds, Issei replied. I can't. This is the only thing I can focus on right now, so I need to do this. Okay then, just don't push yourself too hard, promise. You've got nothing to worry about, Issei assured as the elevator doors open. Looks like we're here, let's go, Irina said while she let Issei out the elevator and through the first floor of heaven, which generally housed low-level angels and brave saints. As they continued walking, they eventually reaching the training grounds, which had a large field for combat and supplies for just about every kind of workout or training one could need. Issei, Ddraig spoke while Issei got ready. Yeah, Ddraig. There's something I need to tell you about. What is it? Issei asked. It's about Ascalon. I'm fully sure how, but the blade has been changed. I believe it's because of the Juggernaut drive, since it was essentially drowned in your aura and power to the point that it's changed the way it functions. You could consider it a dragon sword with dragon-slaying properties at this point, Ddraig explained while Issei listened intently. So what should I do then? I want you to use it to help channel your excess power that you can't fully control. Alright. I'll give it a shot, Issei said as he activated his boosted gear and the sword ejected from it, and to his surprise, it looked completely different from before. The one silver blade had been turned blood red and had rune-like markings all along it, while the hilt had gotten smaller with the dragon-like claws being removed and most of it being covered in gold. Noticing the strange sword Issei was holding, Irina asked, Issei, what's that sword? It's Ascalon, or well, was Ascalon. It's absorbed my power from the Juggernaut drive and is essentially a completely different blade now. Wow, can I hold it? Irina asked excitedly. Okay. No way to say don't. Ddraig tried warning them, but it was too late as the moment Irina grabbed the hilt, blood-red aura began pouring out of the blade, causing the whole area to begin to shake and knocking Irina out. Shit, what happened? Issei asked, panicked, as he picked her up, leaving the blade on the ground, which had now calmed down. Like I said earlier, the blade has been changed by your, or more specifically our power, and because of that it will reject anyone that it doesn't recognize and go berserk. Ddraig explained, after which Issei sensed someone teleport behind him and turned around to see Gabriel and Michael. Issei, what happened? Gabriel asked as they both rushed over. The sword, Issei managed to stammer out. Looking behind Issei, the pair saw what was once Ascalon lying on the ground, and seeing Issei's panicked expression, Gabriel spoke. Issei, calm down, alright, she doesn't seem to be badly hurt, only unconscious. Seeing how Issei still hadn't calmed down, Michael spoke up. Gabriel, why don't you take Irina to a medical facility while I stay here with Issei? Alright then. Gabriel said as she took Irina from Issei's arms and teleported her and herself to a hospital, after which Issei explained what happened. It's not your fault, Issei, Michael assured. That's not true, I should have been more careful, Issei replied, and after a moment of silence continued. I can leave if you want. I don't want to cause any more trouble. They can aback. Michael decided to take a different approach. Issei, there's no need for that. Instead, I want you to meet my joker, Dolio, and go on some missions with him. And if after that you decide to leave, then we won't stop you. Inking on his offer, Issei then responded. Very well then. Perfect, then I'll call Dolio over now, and I'll also have him evaluate where your power level is at. Forming a magic circle over his ear, Michael spoke. Dolio, can you please meet me at the training grounds? A few seconds later, Issei saw a young man with blonde hair and green eyes wearing what looked to be priest attire appear from a magic circle. Yo, what's up? The young man said casually as he approached the two. Dolio, I'd like you to meet Issei. Hi, dude. He's our newest angel and also a fellow joker. Interesting. Well, hello, Issei. I'm Dolio Gesualdo. It's nice to meet you, Dolio said, turning his attention to Issei. Hey, Issei replied. Not much of a talker. Well, anyways, what did you want me to do, Michael? Dolio asked. I want you to see where his power level is at, and after which take him on some missions. Michael answered. Alright. No problem. Thank you. I'll take my leave now and I'll report to you the conditions of arena later, Michael said as he prepared to teleport. Wait a minute. Issei spoke up just before Michael teleported. What is it, Issei? Michael asked. What's going to happen to the peace conference that was going to be held? Oh, that's been pushed ahead 2 months, Michael informed. Alright. If that's all, then I'll take my leave, Michael said as he teleported away, leaving Dolio and Issei alone. Alright, first of all I want you to show me how many wings you now have, Dolio spoke up. Alright then, Issei said, and concentrating for a few seconds 4 sets of wings soon shot out from his back, with one pair being blood-red dragon wings which matched his scales, while the rest were pure white angel wings. Wow, 8 wings, well done, Dolio commented. What now? Issei asked. Well, for now I'll train you on your angel side since I'm not sure how to train your dragon powers. I can handle that, Ddraig spoke up as the boosted gear materialized on Issei's arm. Alright then. Well, first I should show you how to make a light spear since it's the most common form of magic for angels. Firstly, I want you to visualize the shape of your light spear in your mind. Then after that, I want you to use your holy power to create that while also keeping the shape of it in your mind. Listening to Dolio, Issei closed his eyes and began visualizing the light spear in his mind as a simple spear. However, just before he began to create it, Ddraig spoke up. Issei, I have an idea. What is it? Instead of just creating it using holy magic, try using your dragon power as well to fuel it so it ends up a combination of the two. Alright, I'll give it a shot. Focusing back on the spear, Issei started to form it in his hand using his holy power, and like Ddraig said, also began fueling it with his dragon power until in his hand was a crimson-red spear that exuded both dragon and holy power. Smiling, Ddraig thought to himself, he's fueled it using both angel and dragon power, and on his first try as well, he's got potential. Opening his eyes, Issei observed the crimson spear in his hand. Good job, Issei, now throw it at that target over there. Ddraig pointed to multiple targets set up around 30 meters away, and listening to what he said, Issei threw the light spear which thundered through the air, reaching the target in under a second, completely annihilating it, and leaving a large crater in the ground. Impressive, Ddraig commented as Issei stared at the crater in disbelief. Now I want you to attack me, Ddraig said, bringing back Issei's attention. Are you sure? Issei asked. Don't worry about it now, come on. Ddraig assured. Okay then. Walking over to his sword, Issei picked it up and got into a battle stance with Ddraig doing the same, and after staring at each other for a few seconds, Issei dashed forward with much more speed than he was expecting, causing him to stumble, which Ddraig noticed as he quickly sidestepped Issei and stuck his leg out, tripping him over. Remember, Issei, you're much more powerful than you were before, so only go as fast as you can handle. Ddraig spoke, and after getting up, Issei dashed forward again, this time slower than before, and slashed at Ddraig, who in turn dodged out of the way, to which Issei went to strike again. This time, however, instead of just dodging, Ddraig's side kicked him, sending him flying and crashing into the ground. Damn it, Issei said aloud as he was getting up, but quickly felt something telling him to move, which he did, nearly dodging a light spear aimed at his chest, surprising Ddraig as he continued sending more light spears after Issei, who in turn kept dodging, trying to get closer, when suddenly an idea popped into his mind. Summoning all the strength he could, Issei punched the ground, causing it to rupture beneath the two and giving Issei a chance to counterattack. Coughing from the dust, Ddraig narrowly dodged a crimson light spear shot at him. And following up with the attack, Issei punched Ddraig in the stomach, sending him back a few meters. Well done, Issei, I'm impressed you got a strike in. Ddraig commented as he released his 10 pure white angel wings and flew into the air, leaving Issei on the ground. It's going to be a bit harder now, Ddraig said as he began releasing a barrage of light spears at Issei, causing him to continuously dodge. Issei, you can't keep doing this forever, Ddraig said, catching Issei off guard slightly, which was all it took for a light spear to get through, and lifting up his arms to protect himself. Both he and Ddraig were surprised to see it shatter on impact. Of course, the scales, Issei thought to himself as he looked at his scaly arm, which took the blow, which while extremely sore was mostly fine. Using the situation to his advantage, Issei began to channel all the dragon and holy power he could into his sword for one last attack. Releasing his wings, Issei quickly flew straight towards Ddraig, who quickly dodged out of the way as Issei expected, and as he turned around, he slashed Ascalon through the air, releasing all the power he stored up in it, in the form of an wide blade that traveled through the air and slammed into Ddraig's stomach, sending him crashing through the ground, causing a small crater. Did that work? Issei asked as he landed on the ground exhausted. I've gotta say, Issei, you're much more powerful than I expected, Ddraig said as he climbed out from the crater practically unharmed. There's just no beating you, is there? Issei said while putting Ascalon away. That's not true. I believe you have the potential to even surpass me, Ddraig said as he approached Issei. Come on, let's go get something to eat. Giving Issei a hand up, the two left the training grounds to go get some magnificent lunch, according to Ddraig, who Issei discovered to be quite a food lover. 2 weeks have passed since Issei reincarnated as an angel, of which he spent training with Ddraig, who was exceedingly impressed with Issei's rate of growth, with Issei being able to learn the basics of magic he hadn't been able to learn as a devil. One thing, however, weighed heavily on his mind, and that was the fact that Irina still hadn't woken up despite Heaven's best efforts to heal her. Currently, Issei was busy training with Ddraig when suddenly they both got a message from Michael. To the hospital immediately. Sounds urgent. Dulio said, however Issei wasn't listening, already teleporting to the hospital where Irina was being kept. What's happening? Issei asked Michael, who was standing at the door with a concerned look. I'll have Raphael explain. Michael directed Issei to his fellow seraphim who had been watching over Irina. Issei, how have you been? Raphael asked a nervous Issei, trying to calm him down a bit. Fine, but can you please tell me what's happening to Irina? Sighing to himself, Raphael spoke. Essentially what's been happening is that when she grabbed the sword, it reacted by pumping her body with large amounts of your draconic power. That's what Ddraig did to me, so shouldn't it just been turning her into a dragon? Issei asked when the boosted gears suddenly activated and Ddraig spoke up. Not quite. When I did it to you it was in a controlled manner, and I was careful not to overwhelm your body. However, with Irina she instead received one massive dose, and with it having nowhere to go or no one to control it, it would have been causing chaos throughout her body. So can't we do something to stop it? Issei asked frantically. I'm afraid that's beyond even my capability. What Ddraig said is correct. We can't do anything to stop it without risking her body being destroyed. I'm afraid she doesn't have much longer to live. Raphael explained, causing Issei to fall silent. Would you like to see her? Michael, who had been waiting patiently, asked, to which Issei nodded. Following the two Cirrus, Issei felt a hand on his shoulder and turned to see Doliu with a sympathetic look on his face, and as they approached Irina's room, they all entered and saw Irina looking as if she was sleeping peacefully on the hospital bed. However, Issei noticed patches of scales the same color as is scattered around her body. We'll leave you alone for a bit, Michael said, gesturing for everyone to leave, leaving Issei alone with Irina. Why? Issei said to no one in particular. Why can't I do anything right? He continued, falling down to the side of Irina's bed. Suddenly Ddraig spoke up. I see, yeah? Issei replied with a few tears beginning to form. It's not guaranteed, but there may be a way to save her. How? I thought it was beyond your capability to save her. That's only because I don't specialize in absorbing power. However, I happen to know a certain white dragon that does. You mean the White Dragon Emperor? Why would he help us? Issei questioned, confused. Well, he wouldn't. However, I know the location of an artifact made up of a portion of his power that may be able to save Verena. Suddenly Issei felt the first semblance of hope since he reincarnated as an angel. Where is it? Issei asked as he quickly hopped up from Irina's side. Deep in the mountains of Norway. It won't be easy to get to. Ddraig explained to the eager Issei. Doesn't matter as long as it has a chance of saving Irina. I'll do whatever it takes. Not wanting to waste a second, Issei quickly teleported to his bedroom and began preparing for the trip. What do you think I'll need? Mostly just a few days of supplies and a tent. You won't need to worry about the cold due to your dragon body. A tent? Why would I need a tent? Can I just teleport there? Issei asked, confused. Not exactly. See, the artifact is kept hidden away with some of my most valuable treasures I obtained over the years. The entire area is covered with hundreds of barriers and spells to keep anyone that doesn't know how to navigate the area from getting through there and stealing anything. Ddraig explained. Where am I supposed to get stuff that can survive that from? Issei questioned when he suddenly heard a knock on the door. Walking over to the door, Issei opened it and saw Doliu standing there. Going somewhere? He questioned as he let himself in. To Norway? Issei answered. Why would you go to Norway? Greg said there's an artifact he's kept hidden away there that might be able to save Irina. Wait, really? Doliu questioned, surprised. Yes, however it's going to take a few days due to the barriers set up in the area. Is that so? Well then let's go. Wait, why are you coming with me? Issei asked, confused. Well, who am I to let a friend go on a dangerous mission alone, and one as important as this? Doliu answered with a smile. Stunned, Issei responded. Thank you. No problem, however we're going to need a few more supplies than this. Doliu said as he clicked his fingers. Suddenly a magic circle appeared in the room, teleporting 2 bags packed with all the things they need. Aren't they a bit small? Issei asked as he looked at the 2 bags lying on the ground. Well, they're a bit different to your average bag, so they should be fine. Doliu explained, to which Issei appeared to understand. Also, you might need some better clothes than that, Dolio said, gesturing to Issei's plain shirt and pants. Another magic circle appeared on Issei's bed, this time teleporting in an outfit similar to Irina's battle outfit. However, it instead covered his whole body and had bits of armor around his arms and legs. Lastly, there was a black cloak just to the side of it. What's with the cloak? Issei asked. I used magic to enchant it. Basically, while you're wearing it, it won't do anything. But as soon as you pull the hood over your head, no one will be able to recognize you. They could be looking at you straight in the eye, and as long as that hood is up, they won't recognize you, Dolio explained. Thank you for this. No problem. I originally planned to give it to you for our first mission, so it works out well. But that Dolio left the room to inform Michael of their plan, and Issei looked to the corner where he saw Ascalon V2 as Ddraig dubbed it. Are you going to bring it? Ddraig asked. I am. It wasn't the sword's fault, Irina got hurt, Issei said as he holstered the sword to his waist. Neither was it yours. Brave enough. Issei finished and whined when he heard a knock at the door. Opening the door, Issei saw Michael with Gabriel and Dolio behind him. Issei, are you ready for this? Michael asked seriously, looking Issei dead in the eye. I am. Issei answered, matching Michael's tone. Very well then, I wish you luck on your mission. Thank you, Issei replied when Gabriel, unable to wait any longer, jumped forward and pulled him into her chest. They say please stay safe. If anything were to happen to you as well, I don't know what I would do with myself. Gabriel spoke truthfully. I will. Do you want me to come with you? Gabriel asked. Thank you, but no, I can't rely on others for this. But what about Dolio? You're letting him come with you. Gabriel pleaded. That's different. I know the limit of my power, and if I were to fail because I was too stubborn to accept help, then that falls on me. I only want Dolio to come to ensure this mission doesn't fail. Issei explained, and from the look in his eyes, Gabriel saw something more than the emptiness that had plagued him for the past few weeks: determination. Knowing that she wouldn't be able to convince him, she ended it with this. Just come back safe, all right? I will. Issei replied as he and Dolio were teleported away, appearing at the base of a large mountain. Well, this is it, Dolio said as he looked around the area and seen nothing but snow-covered mountains. Break, where do we go from here? Issei asked. You're gonna need to go deep into the mountain range northeast from here. Ddraig replied from the green circle that appeared on Issei's hand. We should fly then to cover more ground since magic doesn't really work here. Dolio spoke up. I agree, however, when you get to a certain point flying will be pointless. Ddraig explained. How so? Dolio asked. Weather conditions simply won't allow. If it is weather we're talking about, then we should be fine. Yes, I am aware of your abilities and your sacred gear, however that won't work here. These storms aren't natural and can't be controlled even with a Longinus. I spent years of my life ensuring that no one could get to my treasures, and I have rigged up traps and barriers so powerful that even I would have trouble if I didn't know my way through. So there's a proper way through? Issei asked. Of course, however it is extremely difficult to navigate, so you'll need my help along the way. I guess so, Issei said as he and Dolio released their wings. However, Dolio noticed something that immediately caused him to stop. Issei, your wings. Dolio pointed out to the now confused Issei. What about them? Issei asked. However, he soon understood as he looked back, and instead of seeing the usual pure white wings, they were instead replaced with a light gray color. They're falling, Dolio said aloud. But how? Issei asked, panic, noticing that even his dragon wings were darker than usual. Built. That can't be it, Issei said, slightly irritated. Issei, it's not your fault. Dolio tried explaining, but it was useless. That's not true, Issei replied. Issei, it was a simple accident. Dolio continued when suddenly the ground started shaking. A simple accident doesn't get people killed. Issei shouted with fury in his eyes as the earth beneath him began to crack. Everything that has happened because of me. Issei continued before quieting down for a few seconds. My best friend might die because of me. How else do you expect me to feel? Issei now had tears in his eyes as he hid his now even darker angel wings and flew off with only his dragon wings out. Ddraig, how long will it take to go there without rest? Issei asked while flying. You could probably get there within a day and a half, but Issei. Ddraig tried but was cut off. Which way? Issei asked, and Ddraig knew it was pointless to try and stop him. From the direction you've flown, and if you just head straight ahead from here on out, and you'll come across a large dead forest. From there you need to travel through it on foot. If you try to fly over it, you'll quickly find that it will be impossible. Ddraig explained, and Issei merely grunted in retaliation. Issei flew in silence for the next few hours, and despite no sign of Duluo, didn't falter, not even stopping for a break when he grew tired and eventually came across the dead forest he assumed Ddraig was talking about. Is this it? Issei asked while catching his breath for a moment. Yes. However, I should warn you that all manner of creature will try to attack you here. Be careful and stay on alert, and remember, you are always being watched here. Issei felt chills run down his spine from that last part as he approached the forest. Not wanting to make himself more of a target, Issei hid his dragon wings and stepped foot in the forest, immediately tensing up as in the distance he saw yellow eyes appear staring him down for a few moments before disappearing. Continuing into the forest, Issei noticed that it seemed to get darker despite no leaves to actually block out the light due to all the trees being dead. Greg, is it just me or is it getting darker? Issei asked. Your eyes do not deceive you. This is not a normal forest. Even before I used it as a way to protect my treasure, it has been cursed. Why was it cursed? This is what I've been told. However, take it with a grain of salt because even I'm not sure if it was true. Supposedly 2 human tribes used to war in this area, both fighting for the right to use the forests for sacred means, and one day a young woman got separated from her group and ended up wandering deep into the forest, eventually coming across an unconscious young man close to death. Unable to resist the urge to help, the young woman quickly tended to the man's wounds, and despite the odds, the man ended up recovering, and the two quickly fell in love. However, they soon learned that they came from the enemy tribes, and knowing they would be executed for their love, they decided to meet in secret. What happened next? Issei asked when he suddenly heard a blood-curdling scream from behind. Turning around, he saw an abomination of a creature with unfitting proportions. The creature in question was almost double Issei's height with a large humanoid body. However, there were noticeable differences, with one being the gray skin and another being the arms that were weighed along and almost went down to its knees with unnatural bends along with way. Issei was unable to get a proper look at its full body, however, as it wore a large black cloak that covered its face in shadows. What is that? Was all Issei said, horrified, before the creature took a swing at him, barely dodging it. Issei, focus! Ddraig yelled. Snapping out of his panic, Issei quickly retaliated by throwing a draconic light spear through its stomach, causing it to screech and thrash violently at Issei, who dodged for a while before grabbing the creature's arm and swinging it around before throwing it into a tree. The creature looked at Issei with rage and fury before scurrying off into the darkness, leaving Issei alone for now. Issei, are you okay? Ddraig asked, concerned. I'm fine, let's keep going. Issei answered. You know it'll be back, right? I know. Issei replied. Continuing on into the forest, Issei began running into more creatures, and one by one he slew them, not stopping to rest for even a second. After killing another creature, Ddraig spoke up. I suppose I'll finish my story from earlier. Like I said, the couple began meeting in secret. However, the man's tribe soon began to grow suspicious and followed him secretly into the forest, where they saw the couple's forbidden love and enraged by what they saw as a betrayal. When the man came back, they executed him and dumped his body where the couples met up to send a message, and a message they sent all right. As when the woman came across her lover's body, she became enraged and grew into a large monster that was blinded by rage and predatory instincts, as she destroyed both her and her lover's tribe, supposedly leaving only one survivor. That was depressing, Issei remarked. Maybe, however, I needed something to help distract you. Thank you, partner. Anytime, partner. Ddraig replied when Issei came across a clearing with what he assumed to be the center of the forest. Stepping foot into the clearing, Issei approached the middle and saw a tomb made of stone with words from a long-forgotten language written into it. I think the story may be true, Issei thought when he heard a familiar scream behind him. Turning around, Issei saw the large creature from before beginning to charge him. However, instead of dodging or preparing to attack, Issei merely stared the creature down until it stopped mere inches from his face. Getting a good look at the creature, Issei saw its face, which was plain with no noticeable features. However, what stood out were its eyes, which were hollow and pained. "It's okay," Issei said aloud in a caring tone. The creature looked to cry as it dropped to its knees and gave Issei a pleading look. "Very well then." Issei removed Ascalon V2 from his hip and pierced it through the heart, ending it quickly and painlessly for it. Moments later, Issei saw a young woman with blonde hair and brown in a ghost-like form arise from the corpse, mouthing the words "thank you" before disappearing. Continuing on through the forest, Issei was surprised that not a single creature attacked him on the way out. "Which way now, Ddraig? You see that frozen waterfall in the distance? Yeah. You're going to need to break the ice and travel through the other side of that. It'll lead to a cave that'll take you through a mountain, then from there I'll explain where to go," Ddraig explained. Listening to Draig's directions, Issei made his way to the waterfall, where he used his innate ability as a dragon to shoot flames out of his palm and melt only the ice that was covering the other side of the waterfall, allowing him to walk through and enter a large cavern with multiple cave entrances. "Which one do I go through?" "The third one. However, I should warn you, just like with the forest, this cave is not normal." "What does it do?" Issei asked as he approached the cave entrance. "It forces you to relive traumatic memories and experiences. However, Issei, you mustn't give in to emotions while you're in there." "Why's that?" "It will trap you forever in an endless loop of pain and torment, so while you're in there, do not show any emotions, do not feel any emotions, and never attempt to interact with the memory." "Got it?" Ddraig explained. "Yes. Are you sure?" Ddraig asked, worried for his partner. "I am," Issei assured. "Very well then, enter," Ddraig instructed, to which Issei listened, quickly disappearing into the darkness of the cave. Heaven. Shortly after Issei and Delia left, Gabriel excused herself to her private house, where she sat in her room and laid down. Gabriel held her hands over her face and wondered aloud. "Why am I feeling this way ever since I saw you, Issei? You've been on my mind constantly." Gabriel suddenly fell quiet as a realization washed over her. "Is this love? No, it can't be, not at a time like this anyway. It would only cause Issei problems. Damn it, why is this so complicated?" Gabriel continued with this for a while, eventually passing out from stress and worrying about Issei. Thanks for listening to my video. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and comment below your favorite part. Sayonara, see you in the next video.